Friends, good evening, and thank you for joining us for part two with the lovely Maryland. Would you like to
Hi,
say hi,
everybody.
my friend, first before we jump into this, which is bound to be a dramatic story?
Yeah, sorry about that and ahead of time. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, here we are. Thanks, Doug, for having me again.
Thanks for coming on. And for those of us, well, I don't know how many people saw part one, but if they haven't, would you mind maybe giving a brief background? I'll throw up some pictures so we can quickly bring people up to speed because as intense as part one was, we haven't even gotten up to Marlene, which is the
Right.
cult leader that you've had the courage to speak out. And not only speak out, it gives an opportunity for us to get right into this, Marilyn, because Marilyn might look sweet, but in fact, she's a rebel. And she pulled me in the last interview where we're going to have a lovely sit down, no smoking, no drinking. And what did she do? That very rebellious spirit that got her out of the cult that we're going to describe is the very reason why we've added a party game and included the word Marlene. So, with that long explanation, whenever you guys are bold enough to speak that in your comment or question that we flash on the screen, we throw this up and
Compliments of
everybody
Kelly Copter.
partakes. Yeah, compliments of Kelly Copter. And you can see there we have a marijuana leaf. And Marilyn, what are you drinking, young lady? It looks
Uh,
remarkably similar
I
to
have
this.
I have White Zinfandel. I don't think you can see it until I drink half of it, but it says wine not, like why not? So
As
why
you
not?
can tell, Marilyn has already had a bit too much to drink, and I'm already a little stoned. So please go easy on the Xenu Marlene's. I'm just kidding.
Yes.
But just trying to lighten it up because we're about to get into a remarkable story. I'm just glad you're here to fucking share it with us.
Well, you're a glutton for punishment because you did invite me back. So
I really appreciate you coming on, Marilyn, and having the
no
courage to
problem.
share this. Let's invite the chat in here. We'll remove this.
Yes.
And like I said, I'll run through some quick pictures so people can know what the hell we're talking about. Actually,
Okay.
let me take the chat off first. And then if you don't mind, could you walk us through,
Sure.
kind of the first X amount of years of your life here?
Sure. Well, Doug asked me to start when I popped out of the womb, as he said, and I've never really talked about that publicly at all. And I'll just say real quick the circumstances of my birth. I was I guess you'd say, illegitimate child of a mom who had one adopted daughter and six children of her own, and I was the seventh or the eighth if you count the older lady who she had adopted as a older child, and she took off with the whole family herself with all the kids from North Adams, Massachusetts, over to Haverhill, which was near Boston, North Shore, Boston, kind of up sort of near New Hampshire. And um, I had an older brother. We called him Buddy. His name was Herman Jr. after my mother's husband, estranged husband, not my father, but she. I remember she was crying when I was 3, and I have recollection of her being really upset, the family being upset, and he had taken his own life in when he was in the Navy. He came home on leave, and it was believed that he was gay and that he was having a hard time with it. So that was one of my earliest memories. Fast forward to when I was 5, Doug has some pictures of a horrific fire that my family experienced. Um, there were 12 people in the house, and it was deliberately set. Sorry, I get a little choked up when I talk about it.
It's okay, Marilyn. Take your time.
Yeah. So it says 6 dead, 6 injured, several rescued in fire believed set. And I was thankfully rescued from the house. And, we can talk about my neighbor later. That's some of the clippings that I saved over the years. And I did find a clipping. I'll probably show it on my stream. I finally found it where my aunt had actually turned out, it was revealed that she had set the fire deliberately in order to try to frame the landlord for, I think, insurance reasons, but it wasn't to kill anyone. Her own son died in the fire, but 6 were saved, 6 passed away, including my mother, Rose, my sister, Jamie, who was 9, her friend Donna, who was 11, my um, my brother Michael, who was 12, Ray, who was my Aunt Shirley's son, my cousin, who was 16, and Twinkie. I don't know why I always cry.
It's okay, Marilyn. Take your time. And anything you don't want to talk about, we can just skip
No,
over.
I mean,
Just to
I don't
break
know
the
why. It's just
tension, that's a
because
little young Marilyn while she's going through that, and you can still see how light
yeah,
she is. Just you never know
that
she
was the
went through
summer
this.
before I was 5, and that was, I think, Salisbury Beach. I loved the beach, and I still do. I still
Yeah,
love the ocean. So
too.
I was rescued. I was brought to the hospital. I stayed there, I think, around 6 weeks, at least a month, and I could have been released after a week. But it even says in the paper that they the authorities didn't really know what to do with me. So it was basically in the paper. It said Marilyn remains in the hospital while authorities, determine where she'll live. I had third-degree burns on my hands and second-degree on my face, which, my face has kind of stretched out. It's much better now. I just wear makeup to cover it. And um, the years between 5 and 9, I usually skip over them because I call them my wolf child years or my lost child years. I slipped between the cracks of the system. And so I was a target for a lot of abuse. I was what I call, I'm sorry, I you guys, I laugh.
Marilyn, you can you take it back about 10 seconds because your
Oh, I'm
internet just
freezing up.
the internet
Okay.
cut. So
All right.
yeah,
Duncan, if you're listening in the other
just the
room, you
last
might
10
need to cut.
seconds.
Okay. Dunk, if you're listening in the other stream, because if we're both internet, sometimes it bombs. So
Yeah, I have to
5
turn
and
off all
9.
my internet too.
Yeah. So between the ages of, let me just make sure I got all my apps closed. So I was saying between
Sure.
the ages of 5 and 9, I just kind of lived wherever. I call it couch hopping. I laugh about this, but I was like a trash bag kid. I was just kind of went from place to place, relatives, friends of relatives, and suffered a lot of abuse, which really, really sucked. So by the time I ended up in the foster home, I was a hot mess. I was showing a lot of signs of trauma, and the family had 10 kids, 7 foster kids, and it was believed that God would just cover everything. I never had any therapy, any counseling, nothing. So we went to this Assemblies of God Pentecostal church, and it was really kind of crazy. He's got some pictures of it. Oh, that's another one. Yeah. So
It's this one
that
right
was,
here, right, Marilyn? Right
yeah, that's the
here.
church. Yep.
And
I just,
already, can I interject real quick? Already
sure.
it sounds a bit like a cult, but it's not a destructive cult as you'd probably describe when we get into Marlene, which is what part
Yeah.
2 is about. But already you can see the shades, right? 'Cause it
Yeah,
sounds a
I
little
wouldn't call
controlling.
Pentecostalism, people might disagree with me, but
Mhm.
it can be a little culty and a lot culty sometimes. And for me, it felt very culty now that I'm looking back at it.
Can you
It's
describe
all
real quick just a couple of the things about what you would
okay.
consider knowing what you know now that was culty in this?
Yes. Um, I wouldn't say it was, we were under pretty strict rules because we weren't allowed to, listen to rock music. We had to be in the world, not of it.
Mhm.
Um, they they seemed really happy, like, they would, dance around, speak in tongues. This lady would show up, that lady you just showed.
Right
She was
here.
a visiting minister. Yes, Grace.
Was she like the celebrity when you say visiting
She
minister
was.
that
She would
would
show up in a big tour bus like a
Wow.
rock star, like a rock band.
That's red flag number 1.
Right, so I'm sure she was loaded from all the money she collected
Right.
from her traveling ministry, and as you can see, she was beautiful. She had a flower
Mhm.
in her hair. She had a long flowing gown, and she would quote,
Yes.
she would heal people, air
All the
quotes.
makings of a guru right there.
Yep. Here she would prophesy over you and tell
Of
you,
course.
God's word for you.
Of
She
course.
would cause you to be slain in the spirit,
Right, right.
which would, like, she'd push on your forehead and you'd fall backwards. And if you didn't fall backwards, you were rebellious. And it was scary because you're just hoping
Wow.
against hope that a freaking elder or an usher was behind you to catch you. And there were some
Did you
concussions
ever
that happened.
fall?
I
Oh my
did, but
god,
I was
that's
caught.
ridiculous. Oh, so ridiculous.
And
So there you go. There's a
I faked speaking in tongues too.
I mean, is anybody really believing that they're speaking in tongues, or do you think it's a hypnosis trick? Or why do you think people do that? It's a good point.
Later on, when I was in the call, it was like this mind numbing thing where I would just open my mouth and just, like whatever would come out, and I would think it was the Holy Spirit because the certain exercises, if you do them over and over and over and over, you do get this kind of disassociation and
Right,
this
right.
mind numbing thing where, um, I guess it's the chemicals in your brain or whatever making you think that that's a spiritual experience, that it's God speaking through
Yes.
you or talking to you.
It's very
And
similar to the auditing sessions, Marilyn, in
yes,
Scientology, what you're describing.
and isn't that strange because only we had the truth,
No,
but
we had the truth.
no, we did.
You were just a religion based on faith, Marilyn. We had the tech. It was a fucking science.
The
Cults come in
50s
all
tech.
shapes and forms. Yeah. There's yoga cults, there's cults for
Yeah.
everything, right? It doesn't just come in the
Yeah,
form
and
of
you
religion.
take away the nomenclature, the individualized languages, take away, the cult leader and all that. It's so similar. I mean, the
It is.
experiences and the tactics and yeah, we'll definitely get
We're
into that.
we're even gonna do a stream. Marilyn had this brilliant idea to take the terms of her cult and the things that were similar and compare it to Scientology to show people just how similar these various cults really are. And she has some great ideas. Hopefully, we can do that next week, Marilyn. No
Yeah, I've
pressure.
been dying to do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that would
really
be awesome. Okay, we gotta. This is a perfect place to take a break.
Oh, that's Ash. That's so fucked
Yeah,
up
we got Ash
podcast.
in the hizzy, yo. Ash, I don't know if you partake in weed or not, but actually, let me
She
move this over
may.
here so
She
can everybody
may.
see this. Oh, she's a stoner, I think. Okay, obviously, or else she wouldn't suggest it. So this is where we take a hit of our favorite poison to the YouTube algorithm. And trolls, we're not encouraging anybody to drink or take drugs, but if you wish to, now's the time. The relevance being, do you want to
We're not.
explain the relevance of Marlene, who we're going to be getting into?
Yeah, so I was really okay, so I worshiped her, I guess I would say. And it even lasted after I left the cult. I was so afraid to even utter her name, let alone that I was in a cult. I didn't even have the vocabulary. And I even though I was in a cult of around 50, I was also in a cult within a cult because I was in a cult of one with her. I was dependent on her, codependent. I was just hanging on her every word. And now I think that she used to love to just hide. She would do shit and then just always come out smelling like a rose, right? And so now I'm like, you know what? She lives less than 5 miles up the road. She's 85 years old. Her prophecies still haven't come true. Boo hoo. Nobody knows who she is until now. So she used to tell me I was going to end up on the dung heap. And I also have an overlay. I'll have to show you sometime. It says hello from the dung heap, which is the shit pile. So Kelly, very clever, Kelly, she designed little icons to go around, little things, emojis or whatever. And Xenu is Xenu. Marlene is a pile of poop with flies on it for the dung heap. And then I used to sneak wine towards the end when we started getting rebellious. Duncan and I would sneak a bottle of wine at night sometimes. So yeah, here's to you, Marlene. You're not going to hide because I don't know how many hundred people are listening right now, but they all know your name. So cheers.
118 to be
All right
precise, Miss
then.
Marlene, if you're tuning in. She's 85 too. And this reminds me, not to get off the subject, Marilyn, we'll get into this, but what happens to a narcissist when they start to age and they lose their power and stuff? But you said she's still running that thing with what, half a dozen people or something,
Yeah,
as
but
far as you
from
know?
what I've heard, she's been in and out of like a hospital. Like I don't know, but there's still a few cars there every Sunday, and they better because they're tax exempt. So you
Hmm.
better you
They have
better
to make an appearance.
bet your ass I'm watching. Yeah, because we we helped buy that building, so
So,
they
so
better keep
friends,
running it.
that's a summary of part one. And this
Mhm.
is where Marilyn arrives for the
Mhm.
real cult experience. Could you take us up to the point? How do you arrive here? In other words, Marilyn,
Yeah.
specifically, what's your
Yep.
state of mind X amount of time before this? And then how do
Yep.
you get in here? And then I guess you could just pick it up from there. And then we'll just go where the conversation takes us after that.
Sure, yeah. So, as I was growing up in the Assemblies of God, there was a real dark side to it. We started talking about the culty aspects of it, and I go into it, in detail in the last stream about the fear of hell, the fear of the rapture, getting martyred, the mark of the beast, all that stuff was always lingering over me. But as I became a teenager and started going to high school, meeting people, I wanted to just fit in, and I really wanted to go to prom. So between my junior and senior year, I ran away. I ended up in foster care for a year. And when I aged out, ended up homeless again with the trash bags and the couches. And, that could be a whole other thing. But I like to skip over those years because I haven't really come to total grips with what happened in the whole the chronological order, because I think I moved 8 or 9 times during when I was 16 to 20. So I did end up on Cape Cod just partying it up and, hanging out with friends and stuff, and definitely was going to hell after that because I had done a lot of things that you're not supposed to do as a good charismatic evangelical Pentecostal Christian girl, right? So I love you too, Ash. Love you, honey. I love
Ash,
you
I'm
all.
so sorry, by the way, to accuse you of being the werewolf the other day. I really just you had me so convinced. I feel
What's up
so
with
bad.
that? I
She was so
know.
sus. God damn it.
Why? She's dressed as a fairy princess or she's dressed as Barbie.
I know. She just was convincing me that she was the werewolf. She was talking so much, but love her.
So
She's
are
so
you.
fucking cool.
I kept
But I
telling you
knew I
I
wasn't the
wasn't.
werewolf.
I kept saying I'm not a wolf. I'm not a wolf, and you
I know,
voted
and
for
I even
me
accused you.
in
I
the last
sucked. Okay,
round.
let's. I sucked. If you guys want to know what we're talking about, it was part three of a game that us creators are getting together that Kelly Copter put together to talk about other shit than just all this trauma stuff the whole time.
All
Link in the
right, now you're
description
stressing
box and
me
look
out,
at it.
calling me a wolf.
I know. Okay, so can I ask you a quick question? How old are you, and under what circumstances do you take the trash bag and then arrive at the infamous Marlene?
Okay, so when I was on the Cape, I came back for Christmas. It was Jesus, so hard with dates. So it was Christmas of I think 89 or 90. Yeah. So I was there for New Year's Eve, and I think I went out partying without telling my parents. I
You
was 20.
fucking
I was
rebel.
20, right? Yeah, yeah. So and yeah, so I actually lived with my parents for about maybe 8 or 9 months until Marlene got this live-in ministry established. So what happened was I was very reluctant to even go home because I didn't want to have to get involved in that Pentecostal church and all that stuff. And she was like, "Oh no, no, no. You remember Marlene? She went to our church. She was a Bible teacher." And she said, she doesn't do all that crazy slay in the spirit and all that stuff. She's a Bible teacher and she's very serious about God. And you'll love her church. It's a beautiful building in Vermont. And it wasn't that far. It was like 20 minutes from my parents' house. And I was like, no, thanks. I'm going out with my friends. And then something happened. My oldest foster brother. If you remember, I mentioned my brother Fran, who his name is different now. He changed his name, but my brother Fran he gone into the Marines, and he was my favorite. He was just so good to me. Like he protected me from all the creepy foster boys, and he still is a good friend, brother, good person. And he had gone into the Marines, and somehow he like got in big trouble. Like he went AWOL and didn't go back, and for some reason, my mother was like, just pressing down on me, like God's judging, like this is, I don't know, anything that happened, it was like the end of the world. It was like the end times. And for some reason, like I was already feeling guilty about sowing my oats on the Cape. And then I find this out about my brother that he might go to jail. And I just freaked out and I said, okay, I'll go to church. So that was the beginning of it. I went to church, totally love bombed, beautiful Vermont building. Marlene was just
One
so
quick
nice.
second. I'm so sorry to interrupt, sweetie, but
Okay.
it's probably just my ear, but it sounds like there's something being banged over there. So whatever it
Oh, it might be the.
It's not a big deal, but
Oh, I'm not sure.
just in case you happen to be banging on the mic or the thing or whatever, just
I don't
please
think
be
so. Okay.
okay. It's not a big deal. Sorry to sound like Aaron Smith Levin, who goes absolutely bonkers over the sound,
I
but I
know, it's
just didn't
okay.
want the audience to be interrupted on
Right.
this
Do I have any
captivating.
feedback or anything? No?
No, you sound
Okay,
great.
good. Okay. So yeah, that was the first time she was really, love bombing us. It's just serving coffee and desserts and just being nice and didn't do a super long sermon. It wasn't about death or the Old Testament or anything. But one thing I did notice looking back, okay, first red flag was I noticed that some people that had been going there for a while would kind of lean back. Back then, she had couches that people would sit on and would kind of close their eyes and like start ticking, like tick, 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 like that. Like
What?
they were, well, they were like speaking in tongues under their breath. They were going tick, 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 like that. Like they
Yeah,
were speaking in
that's
tongues.
not creepy or anything. That's definitely a
Right.
red flag. Sounds like something out of like Aliens or something.
Yeah. They'd close their eyes and they'd just be like, tick, 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 and that was like kind of creepy and weird.
Holy shit.
But I really wasn't getting along with my adopted mom. And Marlene was starting this live-in ministry, and some of my friends were going to move in, and this whole thing of, rolling up your sleeves and delving into the Bible, and like she was smart, and she made me feel smart at first, because I never really felt smart. Um, very I just barely graduated high school because I was partying in the foster home, going to
Speaking of partying,
prom.
Marilyn, please pay attention to the chat in the game. I didn't see a drink go up with that cigarette. Sorry to interject. But you made
Sorry,
the
guys.
rules and you instigated this last stream.
I know, but I'm terrible at multitasking.
Hey,
I'm trying to
I'm the one running the stream, man. What do you think I have to do over here? All you have to do is drink and talk and tell your story. The nerve,
I'm
Marilyn.
pouring my heart out
I'm
here.
just kidding. Just busted your balls. Oh, this is already so. We need to loosen it up, man, because
I even color
you had
coordinated my
everybody in
wine with my shirt.
tissues last time. I want
Yeah, I
everybody to
do have some
freaking cry.
tissues. Yeah, I mean, when you ask me about my kids, that'll probably have to break out the tissues, but and some
But
of the
Marlene,
pictures I
you
sent
have.
you.
Can I ask you a quick question on that? Did you have what was your impression when you compared to the previous Pentecostal that you were in with your foster family compared to
Mhm.
this new thing that your friend sold you on? What was your initial impression after the first day?
So after the first day, it just seemed very happy and casual. It was in, this comfy place with couches and coffee and, and nobody was doing anything crazy like casting out demons or the only thing that was weird was that ticking in the back of the room when the couch, that was weird.
Is
But
this
the
because
rest of it seemed
you were
normal.
new and they were holding back on certain rituals
I
and this
think
was the
so.
introductory thing?
I
Because
think
it gets
so.
weirder, right?
Oh, yes,
Well,
it
so for
does.
example, what happened on day 2, 3, or whatever, and why did you go back?
So, it was I mean, I think what happened was she got crazier as time went on too.
Mm,
So I
right.
don't know, chicken or egg. Like I don't know if the power and cuz she was so excited about quote discipling us young people, she called it. And so I
Really?
think that she got even more and more nuts as time went on. And the rules got stricter and things were always twisted into this like in the beginning, it was just more voluntary, but then it was more pressure and it was deeper and darker. And, you got to go all the way with God. Like all these fucking terms, like
It's
going
very
all the way
sexual, by
usually
the way.
means you're going to have sex with somebody, right? It's like
L. Ron
go,
Hubbard had sexualized the shit out of everything. Long fall, blowdown. Yeah, everything was of sex. When I look back at it, isn't that interesting? And then also, as you know, Marilyn, sex is used to control too. That's
Mhm.
why you weren't able to kiss your future husband until you fucking married him.
Yeah.
That's another control mechanism,
But
I bet.
we did sneak. Yeah. We made out a
Of
couple times.
course, because you were a fucking rebel. That's why you did that. Good for you. So you you guys got
Plus
to at
I
least
had a
kiss.
point of reference too,
Right,
like
right, right. Good point. Thank
I knew
God.
where everything went.
Thank God. Because if
But
Yeah.
But the thing was, is you get that self-policing thing though, too,
Yeah.
Doug. You feel
Yeah.
guilty, right? And you want to do good. That's why you're there. So I tried to obey the rules. I really did. And I did obey most of the rules. I never, until we were, I don't even think I kissed him until we were actually technically engaged. We're only engaged for 4 months, you know, but yeah, I was so scared. I was scared like that God would hate me, that I would go to hell, that all this would be for nothing, all the sacrifice, all the fasting, all the everything, just giving up everything, and there
How
was
did you
always,
get into all the fasting and before you agreed to not, kiss your future husband? And then also was it an arranged marriage? Like before you even get into all that, what are we
yeah,
talking about day 2 or 3? Again, why do you kind of okay, so you go back because it's harmless. You said she
right,
started to go crazy.
yeah.
So was there like a long period of time where it was
Yeah, because
non-harmful?
I
And then
was
all of a sudden
going
she
there
went
for
nuts?
like I said, I was going there for about 8 months or so before I moved in. So I moved
Okay.
in, about a month before my 21st birthday. So I'd been going there since I was 20-ish. And then when I moved in at 21, well, almost 21, and I lived there till 26 and a half. So I was there for 5.5 years living in the building.
And why did she ask you to live in the building?
Because she said that she wanted to disciple me, that God, I had a calling. God was going to use me. Another thing, right? God's going to use you. That was a good thing. Now I'm just like, that asshole's trying to use me. I'm not getting
Right.
used. No, you want God to use you, like you're an empty vessel. And I spent 5.5 years. Well, I spent 16 years because 10 years out of living there, being married, still being controlled by the cult, trying to empty myself. I never could quite do it, you know? I never could quite.
Thank
I always
God.
hung on to a piece of myself, you
What do you
know?
think that piece was, by the way?
I
Was
think
it
it was that survival. I think it was that thing, well, I guess Stephen Hassan might call it the authentic self. It was that little uh, you always ask the deep pertinent
I
questions,
have an
damn it.
answer for that, and I just wanted to know what you would say. Please go. So good. Speak it, Marilyn. What
Um Yeah, I think it was that little girl inside of me that just wanted to survive. And I was stuffed down. I mean, I said sorry.
take a drink of wine?
Fuck Marlene.
Perfect. Anytime you get you want to take a little break or you want to capture yourself, there's plenty of people in the chat that are willing, although I can't find it. Can someone please freaking throw up Marlene/Nina? Where are you when we need
Ashley,
you?
where are
God
you?
damn it. We got to have the audience having our back, man.
Ashley
Okay.
wanted to be part of the game, so I said I'll say Ashley. Ash.
Actually, you're falling
That's so
behind
fucked
here.
up, Ash.
Jesus, I had to type it in myself.
Oh, someone said Marlene with demons. Oh, yes, with devils. Kimberly.
Okay. Too little, too late, Kimberly. Where are you when we need you? Okay. Take either of your favorite poison.
Aw, Ash said, I love that little girl. And Marlene. Yes. Yes, and we're going to show you her. But
Mhm.
I sent Doug some pictures that kind of tell the story of, you can kind of see it on my face, my hair, my my weight, everything, and it's the downward spiral out of it all. My baseline, I think, was the first picture that I sent you where I looked happy, and that was me. That was
That's
me.
you right
Yep.
there. And by the way, can I say something on that real quick, Marilyn? I think you guys can see that anyways without blowing it up. Notice the difference in the light in her eyes and the happiness just compared to when she did what? And this would be another step in a cult transformation, wouldn't it, Marilyn? Where she's
Yes.
changing your appearance.
Yes. Yep.
Do you want to
And
explain that?
the next picture I think I sent
Yeah,
you
check
was the
this.
one where I look freaked out. Like she started to
Yeah.
take me aside. Yeah. She
Wow. You
started
can
to
even
take me,
see your change right here because I just want to show people that real quick because
and I dyed my hair because
she
I was
had
too
her dye your
vivacious.
hair. Yeah, because you were
Well,
too
she didn't tell me to dye
wow.
my hair, but I was trying everything to please her.
Mhm.
And I started growing it out. I permed it because it was the 90s and I was trying to
Nice.
do something with it, like I wanted to do it was sort of a rebellious thing. Like even though she got her hair permed. I mean, she was always
Of
dressed
course.
in very expensive clothing. very well kempt. She did look like a school marm, but the fasting started and I lost from that picture right there. I lost about 40 pounds over the course of a few years.
And here you are having your hair color change
And I,
because what
I crocheted that smock to try to hide myself. I
your
crocheted
early
that.
crocheting years expressed in the cold. Quick question, Marilyn.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a phrase that she said where she didn't come right out and say, I'm jealous of your pretty looks or whatever, but didn't she say, and what encouraged you to change your hair color was something about you're standing out too much in some fashion or
Yes.
something?
Yes, you're making the men stumble by,
You're making the men stumble,
yes.
i.e., stop being attractive and
And
having,
there's a
oh my
scripture, there's a
God,
scripture
it's
in the Bible that
ridiculous.
says, if you make anyone stumble, it's better to have a millstone tied around your neck and thrown to the bottom of the sea and die than to make one of my little ones, God's little ones, stumble, one of his children. You
That's the
make them
only penalty?
stumble.
What's the harm? I mean, that's it? You just die?
You get a mill. You get cement shoes or cement.
Of
You
course.
get
Of
cement
course.
around. You get a cement block tied around your neck in the Bible and thrown into the sea, rather than make someone stumble. Just like if your right hand offends you, cut it off.
Who the
So I
fuck
guess
comes
my
up with these
presence was
ridiculous
offending.
stories
Yeah,
and contradictions? Oh
my
my God.
personality, my blonde hair. Because Doug, blondes do have a lot of fun. Just saying.
Yeah, and you're not gonna
We
have
have
that fun with Marlene lording over you, who is
right.
probably
We just
so sexually repressed she couldn't stand having you and other, women around her. Let me show you let me have
Yeah,
show you a
she would say I
picture
was
of
shifty.
Marlene real quick because you need to get there she
Yep.
is.
Okay.
Can you wanna describe this?
Yeah. So not to pick on her looks because I'm pretty
I know,
plump,
but s
plump
yeah.
myself now. But yeah, this was when I had lost about 40 pounds. To some people that may be normal, but I have a size 11 shoe. I have just a big bone structure, big head, and I wasn't healthy. And you can just see in my eyes, I was just fucking a. I'm getting upset again.
Do you is it time for a Marlene
I don't
slash,
know. I think I
Xena?
can
Just
do
let me
this.
know.
I
Okay.
think I can do this. I had just given up. I had just broken down, and I was like, okay, whatever, and she had so many rules, so many things. I was just like phoning it in because I couldn't anymore. I couldn't do it. And I just was like, I'd want to die. She would say, pick up your cross and follow me, die to yourself. All these scriptures and devotionals we had to read. There's some people like this guy, but I fucking hate him. Oswald Chambers, he's from I don't know, a long time ago, talked about this mystical total surrender, where I swear to God, if I had $1 for every time Marlene told me to surrender completely to God, give your utmost for his highest. I don't even know what his highest was. I don't even understand what the way of the cross was. So that was at our wedding. I had a couple pictures that were a little dark that she was standing over us. Yeah, so that's her. And we were all wasting away. People were fasting so much that one of the guys that I had recruited, one of my friends that I grew up with in the church. I recruited him, and he's still there. He married her niece. He's still on quote the board, and he wasted away to nothing. And he fasted for 10 days one time consecutively. I need a fresh beverage.
I'm
Um,
just trying to give you an out, Marilyn, if you ever
that's great.
we're not in any hurry here or anything. Please
Yeah,
take your time and
right.
enjoy,
No, it's cool.
have a drink
Yeah,
here.
so he was found wandering around a back dirt road hallucinating. And coincidentally, about a year and a half ago now, I had put on Facebook, I finally just said, "Hey, I was in a cult." And his mom, I forgot, is friends with me on Facebook. She never joined the cult. She was a member of the church that I grew up in, but she messaged me privately and she said, "Is this the same woman that called me a Jezebel?" I was like, "Yeah, she called me a Jezebel too, and my 7-year-old daughter." So, yeah, she called everybody a Jezebel when we're just normal. Like his mom was the sweetest person. She wasn't a Jezebel.
Another thing on that, Marilyn, which we'll touch upon when we talk about the similarities, our version in Scientology was we're demon possessed. That we find that out when we get up to
Yeah.
OT3 and beyond.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, and then you're also reminding me of Kelly Copter, who was
Yes.
told by her family that she was demon possessed at age 6 and would literally do Scientology exorcisms in her bedroom at 2 a.m. after waking her ass up. So it's just a
Fucking sick.
similarity how they're
So
all
sick.
the same basic script and playbook and possession. I mean,
Yeah.
isn't that a great ruse though, right? Because true or not, only I can read the spirits. Only I can
Yep.
determine if you're possessed. Only I like, and then when you get up to my spiritual level, maybe you too will be able to read auras. But until then, it's just like you could never prove it, right? So the cult leader can often use an etheric, invisible thing like demons to say, only I would know, right? That's how
I'm
fucking
sorry. I'm
Marlene was.
laughing at Ash because she said maybe your 7-year-old daughter shouldn't have been such a Jezebel. I know, right? It's like,
I
what
know it
the
was
fuck?
totally her fault, right? She pulled it in, right?
So fucked up. Yeah.
It's, I mean,
Yeah.
you're just born into this world and your jackass parents thrust this upon you when your brain's developing. I mean, these are heady fucking concepts that you're going to believe if your fucking parents tell you this shit. It's evil. It's child abuse, man. It's like
It is. It
brainwashing.
totally is. It is.
It's subtle
Instilling
because,
terror in
yeah,
them
we just
and
accept it because it's normal, right? I mean, there's tons of religions and this happens all over the
yeah.
world and it's just like normal. But really, it's child abuse because you're putting something in the child's brain where they're going to have to wrestle with that incoherent shit in later life thanks to their dipshit parents. Sorry to go on a rant.
No, exactly. I stopped short of calling these quote mainstream religions cults per se,
Hmm.
but I think when comes to do when it comes down to children being born in it and not having a choice, you're an
Exactly.
adult. You really want to believe all this shit? Go for it.
Fine, you
Knock
do, but don't push it on your
knock
fucking kids.
yourself out. Knock yourself out, but don't cause your child to be. I'm gonna get that fucking book.
Sure. Stand by, guys.
You know,
Let me pull myself
this
off so
is
you can show it.
this is the epitome of evil. The epitome. Well, it's backwards, but it says to train up a child. This was what the Duggars used, and this was our child training Bible. And I actually did a little book report on it a few months ago on my channel, and it's disgusting. I mean, in the first chapter, it talks about treating children like rats, lab
To
rats,
Can I just
dogs,
interject 1 second? I just wanted to give
mules.
you Can I interject 1 second?
Of
I just
course.
wanted to give you the full screen, but man, that was so evil what you just casually flashed up there to train a child. I can
Yeah.
only imagine, what's in there, Marilyn.
And this is like an Amish thing with mules and stuff. This was the original cover. I got a copy of it when I had burned my copy and the whole curriculum because this was IBLP that they endorsed it and they circulated it. This is Michael and Debbie Pearl. Even if you see a picture of them, they look like evil scumbags. You know, they're evil, and it's disgusting. It really is.
Sorry,
So,
trying
what are
to
you
get
doing?
I'm just moving. I'm still getting used to this thing. There we go. Yeah, and if anybody's seen the Duggars, you'll know what she's talking about. I almost so gone out of reality that they look like something from Invasion of the Body Snatchers or some shit. Like they look kind
I
of
know, and they
robotic
were
and
the most
unreal.
popular show for a while on TLC,
I
and
know,
yeah,
I
if you
know.
if you haven't seen Shiny Happy People, the documentary, and I had Lindsay Williams on my channel a couple weeks
That's
ago, and
right.
she was one of his right hand, like one of his office girls, and she was she went through hell. Her parents put her through hell with this child training crap. You know, it's abuse. It's disgusting, and it's just torture. It's torture. It's what
Are
it
you
is.
able, without grossing us out or getting too deep, are there a couple examples that you could tell us from that fucking book? Is that the book Marlene was using? It's How to Raise You Kids and such.
Yeah.
Is there anything that sticks out?
How
It's
to
not too
raise
bad.
my kids. Yeah. It
Really?
starts at birth. They said to train your children at birth. They were born, kids are born with a sin nature, right?
Of
And you have
course.
to train it out of them. You have to, the way that they would try to rationalize it is
Hmm.
that they need to be able to. obey you on demand, on command or on demand
Of
for
course.
their safety, right? So
Jeez.
I refused to do the blanket training because I was just so happy to have children. I loved my kids. I never felt like I belonged anywhere ever until I had my own kids. That's just how I felt. So, but the blanket training was you put them a baby could barely even sit up, 6 months old, in the middle of a blanket, and put their favorite toy just out of reach.
Oh my
And
God.
when they, this is fucking sick. I'm
Then when
sorry,
they
guys.
reach for it, you fucking like electric shock them in a
You
way
hit,
and
yeah, you hit them
you
with a
hit
switch and
them.
hurt them. Yeah.
What
So that
sane
they
fucking
don't.
parent would go
Yeah.
along with doing
And
this kind of
and
religious
I
shit
saw a
to their
clip
kid?
on Shiny Happy People of
Mhm.
Michelle Duggar saying, "Oh, they love it. It's just so wonderful. You
I
just
know,
put
I
their
saw that
toy,
too. You just
their
wanna jump
favorite
to the
toy,
TV
and
screen
it's
and
so great."
squeeze them.
Yeah, and it's like these poor kids, they were like zombies. They had these empty
No.
looks, empty smiles, and Ginger Jack, Ginger. I didn't know who was who because they all looked the same. They all acted the same. They were all like. And she'd be like, "Oh, look, they're working so hard. I've never seen such a work ethic in my life." Oh, I know it even creeps me out to mimic her voice, but
I totally understand.
it's disgusting.
And
Yeah,
also, they're on television and everywhere, and you just wanna say, "Is somebody gonna save them, or are we just gonna, like, watch this fucking, zombified train wreck, mind control family, just go
yeah,
on?" It's just
yeah,
fucking crazy.
yeah. I couldn't
What a
watch it
world.
because I knew it was. I had raised my kids in that freaking book, and I knew it was messed up, but I can see the appeal because she made you feel like as a mother or whatever or a woman like that you're something wrong with you because your
Yeah.
kids are normal. Your kids act,
Again,
like a little
to
crazy
relate off,
sometimes.
just to show again how all cults are similar, our version of that was the reactive mind. So everybody's born with a part of their unconscious that you're unaware of that you have to fix. In other words, it's a Scientological version of you're a born sinner. There's always something like you're not just it's almost like you come in here like nil minus two or whatever. Like you haven't even incarnated or you just barely pop out of the mom's womb. And if you have a religious parent, a Scientological parent, or any, cult parent, all of a sudden the main theme is that you're a sinner, you've done something wrong. It's like, fuck, man, I haven't even been here 60 seconds and I'm already a born sinner and I have to
Right.
meet
Yeah.
this dude named Jesus and live, on
You owe
his right
him.
hand
Yeah.
side by following this dogma. And it's like, it's so ludicrous. I, I,
Yeah.
I probably just offended everybody's religion, but sorry.
Wow. It's
It's
fine.
just you
It's fine
shouldn't
if
put this
somebody
on
wants.
kids, man. Let them come to the conclusion
Right.
when their brain is at least for them. That's my
Right.
main thing. It's like
That's my
they
thing.
just have to
Yeah.
accept it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like we've already talked about this. Like I think we're both maybe agnostic. Like I feel like there's something out there, but I don't know
Yeah.
what. So all I know is I don't know. So I just
Yeah.
want to concentrate on this life right now. And unless like
Socrates.
I'm not gonna fake, I'm not gonna
Mhm.
pretend I believe in something that I don't anymore. You
Yes.
know, I'm not gonna force myself to believe in it. So yeah, there's so many contradictions and weird things. And like you know, you come into this world and this religion will like create the problem and then give you the solution, right? So with you, it was
Yeah,
like,
that's what
hey, Doug,
cults do.
guess what? You have a reactive mind, you know? Now you need us to fix it.
You want to hear the kicker, Marilyn? After you finally get to the state of clear where you're supposed to relieve your reactive mind, the cognition or the realization that you have to magically have to be declared clear, it's secret, is
Yeah.
that you realize you were making up, mocking up, i.e., imagining said reactive mind. So all you have to do is just simply stop imagining it and mocking it up. In other words, Hubbard was cackling while he said, remember that thing that I said that you had? You made it up. And now that you realize that, now it's time to go on to the confidential levels. That'll be another $500,000. The only way to explain that we fall for this is I said a million times, I think we're put into a hypnotic trance and it's
Yes.
maintained because our
Yes.
critical thinking goes out on week
Absolutely.
2 and it's all downhill from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because you could say the same thing in your cult, right? Like, because I
Totally.
asked you, Marilyn, like, how did you go from the innocuous first meeting to then, you said you went crazy, and then all of a sudden you're telling me you're fasting, and then we saw those pictures of you. We can see you change. You're changing your hair, which is Cult 101. So it's just interesting to see. It's basically all, again, the same playbook. It always plays out the same way, even though we're talking about two apparently totally different things. But again, we had
Totally.
the tech and yours was just a faith. I just wanted to point that out. It
Okay.
was scientific, don't you know?
Yeah, we got more and more isolated where Marley would just come up with more crazy shit that
Oh
we
my
had to like,
God.
okay, yeah, whatever. I mean, you were like worked over and worn down and it's just like whatever, you know? And
Did you
she
ever
was
hit a point where she was so ludicrous that you,
my
oh, there's your
kids.
beautiful kids. Oh, and their
Oh,
band playing. Maybe we'll hit that at the end, but I'm sorry to
yeah,
get
no
off
problem.
track. I just wanted to know before we get deeper into
Yep.
it. Did you ever hit a point now that you mentioned it where she was so ludicrous that you just kinda just stopped following it because you saw the absurdity of it? Or were you still always believing in it, so to speak?
Yeah, there were like certain stages of it and there was basically the last straw was something kind of small and silly in a way. But the beginning, I think, was when she decided that my daughter, who was 7 at the time, was a Jezebel and had evil spirits in her because she had taken like a pack of chiclets or something from this food pantry. It was like this big pantry. They were getting government funds funded food, and you're supposed to legally, when if you're a quote church or any kind of thing taking government subsidies, you're supposed to open it up to the community. You know, but they were just hoarding it for themselves. And we went to church one day. She took a pack of chiclets, and all of a sudden brought her into this room, started casting demons out of her.
God.
And,
Because
that
she
was,
stalled or whatever, because she was starving?
she just took a pack of chiclets because there were like hundreds of them going bad right
No,
there.
you don't have to
You know?
explain it. It's just in
Yeah.
her world,
I mean,
somehow she
yeah,
was
don't
demon
take
possessed.
chiclets, but I mean, that's a little bit extreme calling her a Jezebel. What does Jezebel have to do with taking a pack of chiclets? You know?
It's also ludicrous. Again, you're reminding me
Like,
of Kelly,
like,
where she was the
yeah,
scapegoat. She was somehow demon possessed at 6 because her mom was an alcoholic and her dad couldn't handle it.
yeah.
So she just became the scapegoat. God.
Yeah, and by then I had already been, brought before quote the board, which is that's what
Oh, you
happened
guys
to my
have a
daughter.
a mhm.
And so like it was usually some non thing like um when I thought I was doing good, she would say I had some hidden rebellion or hidden spirit. When I thought I was doing bad, she would promote me. So it was all that. She
Interesting.
was fucking sick, okay? She would just keep you off kilter,
Yeah,
always guessing,
it's what a
always
narcissist
waiting
always does.
for nice
You're
snort.
walking on eggshells.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what narcissists do, right?
Yep.
Because they constantly want you looking to them for their approval. Like this whole thing about the demons and the body thetans or whatever, trying to like figure out what's you, what your authentic, what's
Yeah.
the reactive mind, or in my case, it was what's your sinful nature, what's your quote old man,
Your old man,
what's
what does
the
that
spirit.
mean, kinda?
Oh, okay, so think of baptism like you get when you get baptized, it symbolized when as you're older, not the sprinkling of the water, but being immersed in water, your old sin nature or your quote old man symbolizes being dead, going into the grave in the water, and then your new man comes up in the water, and from the water, and you're born again, and you're walking in the quote spirit, right? See, this is just so much doctrine, dogma. It's so many books that she would throw at us, make us read, so many, tapes and stuff we had to listen to, but she would just pick and choose what writers that she liked. Sometimes she would decide she didn't like them, but like Oswald Chambers, Charles Spurgeon, Madame Guyon, they were all really like strict about like give everything to God. Your life is not your own. Empty yourself,
I.e., give it all to
So
Marlene.
exactly, exactly. And so I was always like freaking out because I was fasting, I was praying, I was going in my room, or I was taking walks and trying to quote seek God, get his will. I didn't know what his will was, but Marlene did.
Of course.
Marlene knew what the will of God was, and she would tell you what to do.
Amen. Amen. Perfect time to take a break. Excellent
Yeah.
segue. You're getting better at this, Marilyn.
Thank you.
You're running the show and you don't even know
Oh, stop.
it. This is when we take a hit of our favorite poison, take a little bit of break, and
Yeah.
whenever the word Marlene slash Xenu
Here we
is
go.
flashed up. If you're just joining in, we're talking about a cult leader that Marilyn was subjected to for 16 years who absolutely looks ridiculous and sucked the soul out of a lovely Marilyn here. And you can almost see the jealousy, Marilyn, about, I mean, the
She
ancient
was always
clothes.
standing over me. I don't know what that
That's very
was.
symbolic.
She's
And look at
always
the change in
standing.
your eyes too. Even
Yeah.
people in the chat noticed it. It's so sad, man, because you can just see the life
I was
kind of
a
taken out
zombie.
of you
Yeah.
there. Yeah, you can see it right here, but not here. You can see you starting to go there, and then there's
Yeah.
the original
That's
you,
pretty much
man.
my what I call my baseline.
And
That's
not
what I
only
look like.
to prove that, here's your baseline when you were a kid, which is exactly
Yeah.
the same look that we saw.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's a perfect Xenu break. Let me
Yeah, it's wild how the
hit the
pictures
pipe here,
kinda
man.
tell the
It
story,
is.
right?
It is. It's amazing, right? They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and the eyes are the window to the soul. And I think we just proved it.
Yeah,
All right, I have to
absolutely.
reload the pipe here. Stand by.
Okay, stand
Let me
by.
throw up a question for you. I know.
Sure.
I don't know what else to say. Someone's got a question for you here, which will allow me to take a break here. Oh, it's so good to see Gabrielle here. You interviewed her earlier this morning. I'm going to link her interview in the description box after this
Nice.
video because her and Marilyn had an amazing talk, and Gabrielle just that was an amazing interview, by the way.
Hi, Gabrielle. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, it's wild how much we have in common and which cult is more fucked up. You know, I just like with traumas, I don't like to compare, but I do have to say that Scientology isn't a class by itself. I mean, I wasn't dealing with I have so much respect for you all speaking out because Marlene lives 5 miles up the road. I was afraid of her putting curses on me, not necessarily putting like PIs and making websites and you know all the shit that they do. I can't imagine having the mental prison, you know, the prison of belief, on top of all the threats and all the bullshit that they do. So you know, in some ways, I guess would probably Scientology ekes ahead of most of them, but then
In
there's
defense of
some
that, real quick, because I mean,
yeah,
Islam, certain extremist
there's
faiths,
some
they
other
chop
I
your
was just
head
gonna
off.
say
There's
yeah, I
definitely
was gonna
ones
say
that
some
are
other
worse.
extreme. Well, I was gonna say, I think on my top of the list is Children of God.
Yeah, that one's
That's
horrible.
number 1 for
Even
me.
with their change policies, and they're still around, known as the fucking family today. That's the
They
one
shouldn't be
Joaquin
yeah.
and River Phoenix and Rose McGowan grew up in, and they had a thing called flirty fishing where sexual abuse of children. River got sexual abused at 4, was part of the fucking doctrine of the sick pedophile. How many pedophiles, by the way, Maryland, specifically pedophiles or
They
geeks like
both
Keith Raniere trying to get pussy, form cults? It's like almost all about sex, isn't it? Whether you're a pedophile or you're just trying to get laid.
yeah, well, I think that's part of the whole power trip and everything. You know, Marlene was a woman, so we didn't have that. But you notice
Or
though
repress the shit out of it, right? Like,
exactly. You notice though, right? It's extremes, right? So in our
mhm,
case, it was what they call asceticism. We were like monks.
right.
And yeah, so that was, you know, the other extreme is pretty much the same. I think it's a, you know, other side of the same coin, honestly.
Exactly. Whether they go over sex or they repress it. Scientology was a weird
Totally.
combination of both, by the way, Marilyn, because I was definitely sexually repressed. You couldn't masturbate. That keys in the reactive mind. There was all sorts of rules and regulations. I didn't necessarily follow them all. But at the same time, everything sexual, like we were talking about earlier, the terms like, long fall, blow down. And I mean, just everything had a
And
sexual connotation to it
yeah,
that
yeah.
might even be not intended or subconscious,
You
but
know,
it's all there. So funny.
yeah, that's interesting that like that Scientology doesn't claim to be quote religious in the way of there's a God that's going to judge you or that it's bad, you know. Like I don't know how he rationalized like saying that you know homosexuals are bad, that masturbation is bad and all that, but a way to control, you know, your sexuality and have everybody be like cookie cutters and all that. But and have a common enemy, you know, that's all cult
Have to have
101.
that.
But this was like morality, like, yeah, you couldn't no, you couldn't masturbate, you couldn't do anything. And we didn't get into the promise ring stuff, but it was basically like you're saving yourself because you're like the whore of Babylon if you even think about another person in that way, you know? So
Does a promise
Yeah.
ring have anything to do with your marriage? And also, was your marriage arranged?
Mm, that's a really good question. I wouldn't say it was arranged because we were really good friends, but
Hmm.
and we did love each other, but I don't think we were able to be like a normal couple. So it was like when we finally blew out of there, we had 3 kids, right? We had, we had been married 10 years. I not only went through a crisis of faith, but also a crisis in my relationship because I was like,
Hmm.
did I really choose to marry this guy? Did I? Like, I had to kind of come to that. Like, was this arranged marriage? Because there weren't that many people to choose from. I mean, I hit the jackpot with my husband because we're still together 26 years later and we're still good friends and we love each other,
That's
and
awesome.
I think that that's like something that makes it last because we were good friends. And he never, like the whole snitch culture, and we had that totally. The snitch culture, he never threw me under the bus, you know? He
Wow, that
never
says a lot to
disrespected
him
me.
under the pressure of the cult, because that's when
Yeah. And
someone's
he went, that's
true
him.
character can come out.
And so that was
Right
him in the
here.
light blue. That's Duncan before he grew his beard. And the gentleman in the middle, so that's me in the black sweatshirt with
Oh, wow,
looking
with the dark
skeletal.
hair,
That's
I
me.
barely recognized you.
That's me looking miserable.
Yeah, you can see it
Fucking
totally.
miserable. Yep, that's
Wow.
me. And, the guy in the middle and the kind of brighter blue thing, that was my buddy there that I recruited, and he's still there.
No shit. Does that haunt you to this day? I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I just wanted to
Yeah,
hear how you feel about that. Was he a good guy that you feel compelled to save, or have you been able
he was
to?
a sweetheart. Um, yeah, I mean, I've talked to him a couple times. I've talked to his wife, Marlene's niece that was, in my wedding, and she always tended to call me when, like, a relative or somebody we knew died. It was weird because that's that kind of pull it in thing. I always felt like she
Mm.
was sent by the cult to, like, just jab me. I don't know. And the only time I ever really heard from Marlene, a couple of times, was when my sister passed away. My sister Sherry, that survived the fire, she wasn't there that night. I talked about her in the other stream, and she passed away 5 years ago from cancer. And Marlene sent me a sympathy note, but it was still like, messed up, Doug, because he was like, sorry for your loss. And I remember throwing a baby shower for your sister. Like, she was trying to make me feel guilty as if she was some benevolent whatever. And I'm like, we gave you thousands of dollars. We gave you our lives. Don't even fucking tell me that I owe you anything for throwing my sister a baby shower. Like, it just was like, I'd rather not. Why? I'd rather not hear from her. And then not too long after that, maybe a year or two after that, I was managing. I had 3 different J.C. Penney's that I was the floor manager for, and the HR, and I had just switched stores, and it just so happened this was the store that she liked to shop at, and she came up and she brought a. It's like we had to be perfect. We had to not ever like do anything that was dishonest or anything. I swear to God, she switched signs on this set of luggage, and she demanded that the cashier, that the servant would give her a discount. And so they called the manager, and guess who was called up to the front?
Jesus?
No, Jezebel, me.
Okay. I was close just by cracking a joke. Okay. So
So
you had to take the fucking rap for her stealing?
no, she switched signs and she wanted a discount based on the cheaper luggage. And
Yeah, she
I
tried to
was the only one that could
cheat.
override. I was the only one that could override the numbers.
I see you were working there. Oh my
I was
god.
working
So,
there as a
she asked
manager.
you to commit what they call in Scientology an overt or a withhold.
Right. So she was giving the cashier a hard time. So she said, "I demand to see your manager," not knowing it was me.
Oh, not knowing.
No.
Really? So you kinda caught her
No.
in the act.
Soon as I came up there and she turned white.
No shit.
And
That's
so
funny.
I was like, "Well, I just saw those signs and no," and I showed her the brochure and I was like, "This is the price." And I was just like, "You know what?" I was like, I'm feeling pretty generous today. I'll let you have the discount."
Now this
And I
is
just had this.
after you're outside the cult, Marilyn, and you run into her when she's
Yeah,
still trying to steal.
this was about 5 years ago.
Wow.
And, instead of
Wow, what a
sending her
saint.
away like she always did with me, I thought it would even be better to just give her the fucking discount.
Why, if I may hear your reasoning, rather than haul her ass off to
All
jail
right,
or
let's take a poll. Let's take a poll, guys. What
sure,
would you have
sure.
done?
This is a great moral question and dilemma to bring up. I'm going to try to give you my honest answer too, Marilyn, as I think about this too. What would you guys do in this situation? You finally have a chance to get one over, perhaps, on your
Yep.
cult leader that's traumatized you. You realize this, you're 5 years out, and then you catch them in the act of, well, it wouldn't be stealing, Marilyn, but it would be it would be enough to where you
Being
could call the police
dishonest.
or the
Yeah.
authorities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
I mean,
trying to be
I had
a
to give her
little
the
snake.
discount because I can't prove that somebody else didn't switch the sign, you know what I mean? Called the
I
cops.
guess, but you know what
You
happened.
can't
Let's just say
no, you
nothing
can't.
happened anyways, but would you take the moral high road like,
Yeah.
Marilyn, or would you attempt to call the cops?
Yeah, well, she didn't do
I
it.
don't know what I would do.
There was no proof, like, there's no cameras saying that she switched the signs. Somebody else could have, or maybe it was just close where she was confused, but
We
so
got some harsh
I did have
motherfuckers in here,
authority.
Marilyn,
I did have authority to give her the discount or to tell her to take a hike.
and you gave it to her at the discount, which is really taking the higher road. Some people would throw her in jail. Some people would,
Yeah, she knows that you know. Well, the reason I did that is because, all right, I don't wanna cry, but
go ahead.
I felt like I wanted to demonstrate to her what she fucking lacked. You know what I mean?
Wow, that is fucking powerful.
Because to me, that was, said more than if I tried to retaliate and say, "Take a hike, bitch. You made me starve. You treated me like shit. I hate your fucking guts." Just to smugly give her the discount.
Wow.
And knowing that she knew for the first time in my fucking life, she was at my mercy, and I
Wow,
showed
Marilyn.
her mercy. That's why I
Wow.
did it. That's why I did it.
That is an amazing answer and an amazing reason. I didn't think you were going to say that. That's it's kind of like taking your power back because if you would have gotten mad at her or had some
Yes.
kind of reaction, she would have
Yes.
still owned you. But it
Yes.
takes a certain amount of healing to get up to that point to be able to
Yeah.
not get emotional. So
And I
well
and I think
fucking
that
done.
the best revenge is to be happy and successful.
Exactly.
She always hated that in me. She
Mhm.
always fucking hated that in me, and I was not going to let her win and see that she got to me,
That's a
you know?
fucking Xenu and a half and a Marlene and a
You're
half
right.
right there, man.
Thank you,
Stand the
because
fuck by.
that that just took a lot out of me, Doug. I don't know
That
what you
was
do to me, but you
epic.
just get you just get it out
It's
of
your
me.
story, man. That's a really good lesson to hear too, because I told you I wanted to blow up their buildings initially, but after you get over all the emotional reaction, that's what
Yeah.
it comes down to, right? And you literally like
Yeah.
take your power back. They no longer affect you the same way. And
Yeah,
that's
and
the perfect way
now we're
to
saying
make a
Marlene and
statement.
Xenu. Xenu was your demon, Marlene was mine, you
Yes.
know? And so I say, "Can you read it now? Wine." Oh,
It's
there.
still backwards.
Why not?
Unless the
Oh, it's
audience so
backwards.
plowed
Okay.
there, they can
It
read it
says, "Wine
dyslexic.
not."
Nice. Nice. If you're just joining us, please take a hit of your favorite poison. As every time we mention the cult leader of Maryland, that would be Marlene, and my cult leader, I guess, uh, but you only learn on the confidential level, Xenu, please take a hit of your favorite poison. Perfect. Perfect break.
A Xenu and a margarita. Yes, I love me a margarita.
I know we just kind of blazed through that, and we're just, we're not telling it necessarily linearly, Maryland, so
Yeah.
we can jump around or whatever, but we're
Yeah.
hitting upon just Marlene as the
Yeah.
general
And let me
theme.
say,
Mhm.
if you wanna know consecutively, what happened within, I think it's like 57 minutes, Kelly
Mhm.
Copter did a beautiful job with my
We'll link
story
that.
back
Yes.
in April, and I had nothing but a 5-year-old, um, laptop Chromebook, no camera, no microphone, it was just very fuzzy. The audio was terrible, but she cleaned it up and did such a beautiful job. She's got if anyone hasn't seen Kelly Copter's videos, I mean, she just she just does such a beautiful job with the editing, and brings in, pictures and um, little
It's
videos of
really
things to
good.
illustrate. I mean, she did a good job, and it was the first time I had ever told my story from start to finish. I didn't totally skip over the fire. I just said I lost, for context, but this is more of a conversational, slash drinking game slash crying sesh slash let's get
All
in
in
deep.
one,
Let's go. Right,
folks.
right, right, right.
You get your bang for your buck. It's all free and you get all of that in one. And by the way, I'm going to link Kelly Copter's video on Marilyn.
Oh, good.
If you don't know who she is, please subscribe. She really does make amazing videos, and you can get an overview of Marilyn's story in one shot. And what we're doing with these parts, and maybe there'll be a part three. We're not trying to rush through this, but then we can get into more of the nitty gritty, and also Marilyn, some of the stuff that you've come such a long way in such a short period of time. So there's times when you couldn't even say Marlene that long ago, or couldn't
Yes.
talk about the fire. So
Yeah.
it's great to track your
I
progress
couldn't talk
when
about the fire. No.
yeah, it's just
And
amazing how fast you're speaking out and healing or whatever.
well, I have to say this community has just really helped
It's
me so
me
much,
fucking too, man.
I feel
That's great
so
to hear.
comfortable with you all. I mean, you've just been so, so supportive. And I've said this many times is that I call myself one of the thousands of never ends. It's always helped me to listen to, ex-Scientologist stories because we can relate so much that in the language, which I'm just starting to kind of be able to not be triggered by it, but the language of my cult was so triggering, but it was similar enough to Scientology where I could draw parallels without delving into the doctrine, which I'm starting to be able to do because it's helped me understand where I came from, and just to be able to explain more of my story of where I was coming from, you know.
Excellent. Do you mind if I ask you to just to give an overview shot of what we've talked about so far? In the middle of the cult, not necessarily when you started to go too bonkers or whatever, but let's say you've been in for a couple years. Could you give us a day in
Yeah,
the life of what it was like actually being there?
sure.
What were the daily
Yeah,
activities and stuff?
sure. It's a good question. Yeah, so typical day would be we had shower times, and it was old inn, so you couldn't really be all taking showers at once, and there were 4 bathrooms. You saw the picture of the inn.
Yeah, I
There
want to
were
show it because I told you it reminds me of The Shining. It's
Yeah,
beautiful and it's eerie
yes.
at the same
Creepy,
time.
yes,
Check this out,
yes.
guys.
So
Oh, I'm
so
gonna
the
pull this
that's my
down.
voice. So the inn was, built in, I believe
Wow.
Duncan said 1783, and,
Wow.
it was called the Old Coach Inn. The old coach, the stagecoach would pull up, on the left there, that corner where the 2 trees kinda poke up, and it would, pull up in front of the inn and let people off. And during the Civil War, during the time of the Underground Railroad, under that the coach room, they called it, was like the waiting room for the coach. There is a cordoned off dirt cellar underneath there. And I remember, going down there and being freaked out and having to run back up. They called it the slave cellar because Marlene called it that. But
Wow.
that was where they hid the slaves that were going up to Canada, that were on the Underground Railroad. And that building was a bitch to keep clean because it was kind of old, drafty, dusty. Duncan was my husband constantly doing maintenance on it, fixing things, painting. He was very handy. And I was humbled. They called it being humbled. I was humbled because I guess it would be sort of like lower conditions or amends projects, right?
Yep.
Because I was too Jezebel. I was too shoopty. They called it shoopty doo. Like if I'm just
Shoop de
happy,
doo. Not to
I
be
was
confused with
shoopty.
Scooby Doo, right?
Right. No, like
That's
shoopty.
so
Like
even
like
the words, Marilyn, that's another thing we'll talk when we break this down. Even the words like theta track and aren't their words so corny when you look back at them
it's so
too? Like how the
stupid.
fuck
I
did we even
know.
believe in the words alone? What is that shoop de doo?
Oh, so it was like you're too showy, you're too exuberant,
So
or I
funny.
don't know, like
You're too
words are so
happy and
hard.
attractive, damn it. I need you to be like me, said
Just too
Marlene. Like,
vibrant, like you're
yeah,
making You're
I think that's what it
making
was.
God's children stumble. You're making his sheep stumble
Wow.
by your presence, by your
Wow.
exuberance. You're too sheep to do, right? I
So
mean,
funny.
I wasn't just in like hooker
Like,
clothing. I mean, okay. But I was the harlot of Babylon in my heart. I had the whore of Babylon in my heart
did you
because the whore,
believe that too, Marilyn? Did you really
yeah,
take that
kind
on
of,
fully?
kind of. Well, to a degree. I mean, I guess I didn't know if it was a spirit, if it was myself, or it was like this these exercises designed because you were supposed to like go up in your room and in like spiritual sackcloth and ashes, they called it. Like when you were
Mhm.
fasting, you were humbling yourself before God and you were just like, like beating your chest and begging God to save you. Although I thought Jesus was supposed to save you by dying on the cross, but I had to die every day. It was like dying to self. All the focus on death, I just wanted to die. And I kind of did. I died inside. I mean, you look at those pictures. Marilyn was gone, you
Yeah, you can
know?
see it. You remind me of me too. That's exactly the look I had
Yeah,
for a
you
good
felt
couple
that?
decades, Marilyn. I
You
only
do
know
but you
that now
don't
because I'm
feel
out of it,
right,
but
but you don't
it's
feel
it's like
anymore.
it's like looking at 2 different people. It's like I know this happened, but I'm so not dead
I
anymore,
s
but I know
Yeah.
that was me for most of my life. It's very
It's
strange.
hard to believe these pictures are all me, but they are
Yeah.
and they're not that far apart. I mean, they're
Really? Like,
within a
when was
few
this
years.
taken compared
So
to
that
when
was
you changed your
20.
hair
I
color?
was 20
Mm,
there, and I was 26 when I got married, but I had plumped up, like, when we got engaged and stuff, we started being able to, quote, "date," and,
mhm,
so that was towards the beginning too. I started losing weight, and that's right
mhm.
before I dyed my hair dark, and then I got a
You
perm, and
such a change there in the
I
eyes and
started
everything.
crocheting these smocks to cover myself. 'Cause I was being told that I was, being a Jezebel and tempting people. Oh, just
Did that
fucking
calm down a little bit when you dyed your hair and tried to make yourself, whatever, like, look more
I don't think
unattractive? Did you still
so
get in
because
trouble for doing that? For making men stumble?
I don't know, uh, like, then it was like hidden rebellion. I had it hidden in me.
Right,
I had
right, just
spirits
always
of
another reason.
see, yeah, it's just exhausting just thinking about it. It's
I
like, I
fucking
don't know
feel
what
you.
the fuck I don't know where she got this stuff from, but I'll tell you what a typical day was like, and I'll tell you what going before the board was like, because that was another this was like
Right.
I'd been going before the board. So a typical day would be pretty much if we weren't fasting, like I'd take my shower at like 6:30 or 6:45 or whatever. And then I'd go down, everything was measured out. You'd have like if you weren't fasting, we'd have like 4 ounces of orange juice, maybe a piece of toast, bowl of cereal, and then I would get set to work. I had to work until lunchtime, usually with big buckets of ammonia water, almost straight ammonia, but with some water in it. Hot, hot, hot water. Just, just doing stupid busy work, like things
Like a
that I
Sea
had
Org
already
member
wiped.
just doing messed work, like, just did
Yeah, like just washing baseboards and doorknobs, and she used to be like, "Cleanliness is next to godliness."
oh, god. In other words, I want free slave labor, and if I can cloak this under religion, I can get my fucking toilets cleaned every day. Oh
Apparently.
my god, it's just
Those
it's
Yeah,
also
she used us for
narcissistic.
free
You can
labor.
see how self-serving it is, but it's all under the guise of God, so you go along with it for sometimes a lifetime,
Duncan, I
serving a
know he
narcissist.
must be in the my husband must be in the chat. Honey, how clumsy were you?
By the way, would he show up in the chat here if he is he gonna type in or is he just lurking? I just wanted to look for him if he is
I
here.
don't know what time it is. He might have gone to bed by now. He usually goes to bed right at 11. He did climb a mountain today. To be fair, he hiked 10 miles today. So he's probably tired.
He's been doing a lot of, as Chow says, messed work.
Missed work. Yeah.
Again, Marilyn, it's also similar. If you're in the Sea Org, you just do endless labor, especially when you're getting in their program to become militant and boot
Yeah.
campers. But so much is just using kids for slave labor.
Yeah.
Marlene was lazy, she and broke, and she didn't want to use real, be in the real world and actually pay for all the work. You guys
Yep.
just saved her a shitload of money, and it's
Yeah,
all
and she would
tax
say, like,
free because
She
it's a
would act like she
nonprofit.
was so hardworking, but she never did it. I
She
never
didn't
saw
do
her get her
shit.
hands dirty.
Just another
Never
typical son
saw
of a
her get her hands dirty.
yes.
And like, so we would do that, and then, you have lunch. It was usually like I remember just having pretty much like a cup of soup and half a sandwich. And then it was time to quote seek the Lord before I had to go to work, because I worked outside the the building. I worked about a half hour away with handicap or with disabled and brain injured children. And so I would that in the afternoon you had a choice of either going up to your room and laying prostrate before God. Oh yes, let's do it. Thank you, Cricket. We can always count on you to remind us.
Exactly. Thank you. Cricket is definitely one of the more hardcore partiers in the crowd.
I know. I'd like to get her on a stream with me. We should do just a late night. Like,
Oh, you guys should. That would be amazing. We
yeah,
did a video on the free ones, which was so
that was
much fun
so
hanging out with
good. It
her.
was it was entertaining, but also very educational. I learned a lot, and it was very cool to see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks, Cricket. Much
yeah,
appreciated.
yeah,
Okay, back to
yeah.
the normal
And
background.
so,
Thank you for that.
when we were fasting, like I hated to just be in my room laying on my face crying before God. So the other option was to go for like a long walk. So I would walk sometimes like 5 miles a day. I would just walk. And then I'd get back and have to drive to yeah, that was another thing, was that Duncan and I think were the only ones that had like a car that we supported, that worked outside the building, that helped support the building. And maybe that's helped us we were like only one of the few, two of the few that didn't go like literally insane. So I think maybe just having that outside connection
Yeah, and all the
helped,
messed work.
and also at night. So yeah, so I would walk, then I would go to work, and sometimes I would like sneak a snack at work, especially if I was starving. And then I would go home or go back to the Sea Org, right? And we'd
Yeah,
have dinner.
literally.
We'd have dinner, and I've never been a real dessert person. Popular, contrary to popular opinion from a certain troll. I'm not like a big, whatever dessert person. He says I like chocolate bars, whatever. Who doesn't
Nothing
like
wrong with
certain?
that too, man. Even if you
Yeah,
do, what the
yeah,
fuck?
exactly.
Especially women. Don't you love your chocolate?
Yeah, well,
Or
I
am I going
guess
to get accused of being a misogynist,
certain
sexist, or
times
because I just said
maybe,
that?
yeah. Ash,
Jesus.
yeah, especially
You have
if
to
Ash
watch
is like that.
everything nowadays. By the way, Marilyn, I call women gals, and everybody's like all offended by that too, and there's no offense met. My
Gals?
understanding
It's
is
just
that's yeah, gals. My
oh, it's
understanding is
just
that's a polite way of saying a lady.
it no, it's I
Apparently
think it's
not in
fine. I
today's
think it's
woke
respectful. It's like what
vocabulary.
old men that's what old guys call gals. Like,
Yeah,
I used to work with the elderly, and the older guys would be like, "You're a nice gal." Yeah. It's just a very it's classic. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me.
we have
I'd rather
another
be called a
racist in the
gal than a
audience.
chick,
We have
you
another
know?
racist in the audience, by the way. Here, it's going to get
Chocolate's
accused of
actually
being racist.
healthy.
Yeah.
It contains magnesium. No, I was just making
I'm
oh,
just fucking with you,
Ashley said she
Marilyn.
says gals all the time.
I'm just kidding about all the
Fifth
comments or
Avenue
whatever.
bars are better than
Thank you, love it. There's nothing wrong with that. I just get so paranoid nowadays
no.
because phrases I could use, Marilyn, when I was growing up, where you could bust your buddy's balls with whatever words. There's so many words now that are
Yeah,
offensive. Just like in the last 10 years, I'm like paranoid on like actually picking my words nowadays. And also that appertains to what cults do, man. They make you limit your vocabulary and they
right,
make
yeah.
add a lot of
Yeah.
significance to
If I
words.
know that it offends somebody, I'll try not to use it. Like,
Yeah, me
certain
too.
things like the W word, I think that needs to be retired. But then there's things that you don't
Definitely.
mean to. Like, if you know that it bothers somebody and you still use it, then that's kind of douchey. But I don't
Douchey.
have a problem with being
I'm
gals.
offended by you saying douchey.
Okay, well, I'll try not to say it again, but I might.
Just kidding. Another way of looking at that is just choose not to be offended. It's a choice.
Mm,
Except for, like you said, we got to get rid of the W word. It's
yeah.
not cool that the G word said the N word. And, there's definitely offensive stuff. I'm just saying I didn't learn until last week that gals was offensive. But let's
It's
carry
not
on.
offensive to
No,
me.
no, I
It's
know.
not offensive to me at
Well, it is
all.
to some people. I
Okay,
just
well,
found out.
whatever.
Ashley, what do you
Nickname-
think? Would you be offended if I called you a gal? Now, this is a
She calls
woman who
people
uses
gals,
she
she said.
fucking has fucked up in her name. I don't think she gets offended very easily. I'm going to go out on
No.
a limb there with Ashley.
She said she calls people gals. Women gals.
So, see, woke is
Yeah.
actually black African American vernacular, and alt right has weaponized it. Okay. And also, I wonder, is it
Oh.
offensive too? Did I just accidentally, again, without even knowing it, just by using the word woke, offend somebody? I don't know. Let us know in the comments, Ashley.
I th- I think it's the motivation behind it. I think it's the spirit of the word instead of the letter of the word. To use
No,
a
no,
Bible
I hear
term.
you. I
To
hear
use a
you.
Bible term,
That
Yeah.
might be how you mean it, but just saying it nowadays, certain words you might not mean to be offensive and you didn't know were,
Yeah.
but the thought police and the word Nazis will jump on you. Just hang out in my comment section for a while, Marilyn, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, but I
Oh,
didn't want
I
to get off
have,
track.
and I was
Okay.
accused of having a mask on, and I was like, my real name is right
Yeah,
there. What's yours?
don't get me
Like
started on that guy.
Fuzzy Biscuit or some shit? I'm like, I don't think so. I don't That's not what the name was, but it was something like stupid like that.
And thank God, by the way, just to pinpoint this and get back to the story. Sorry to get off track, but witness says, Doug, I was only mildly offended the first time, 5 times I heard it, but once I knew you were cool, it was okay with me. Are you joking, witness? I honestly don't see how anybody could be offended by the word gal. And also, if people know me and watch the channel, they would know that that's like not my style. So I would have made a mistake if that was offensive. But fair enough.
Well,
So 5 times is a magic
a
number.
gal doesn't bother me at all. I don't understand that. I know that I think it was Mark said that on a stream that he was getting in trouble for calling people girls. And I could see that just because if you're a grown woman, maybe you don't want to be called girls, but I call the second gen girls. Woke isn't great to say. I call them word Nazis and info trolls.
See,
Yeah.
now I have to never say that word again and just stick to word Nazis. This is how I've had to
Right.
reframe my brain in the last 10 years. Anyways, let's get back to the subject matter at hand. Sorry
All
to
right.
go off on a diatribe, but
It's
we
all
were
good.
talking about a day in the life of the
Yeah.
evil Marlene.
Yeah, so we all like there were all these charts, and certain people's turn to do like the dishes, and of course we didn't have. Can't remember if we had a dishwasher or not, but there were quite a few people living there. There's at one time there could be anywhere from 12 to 15 people living there, or just kind of hanging out. So then after dinner, a lot of nights, if we didn't have like an actual service like a Bible study or something, we would sit in this back living room and listen to indoctrination tapes.
Oh, what fun. Just
Hellfire and Brimstone.
of course, lovely titles like Hellfire and Brimstone. We had
Yes.
lectures of Xenu on the
Yes.
second target too. Yeah, please carry
Yes.
on.
Singleness and holiness, about how
How
you
you have
got
to
to be.
repress your sexuality.
Yes, 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 that kind of stuff.
Oh my
Yeah, so
God.
it was just like how terrible you are, and how God, even though he saved you and he loves you, if you don't cut it, you're gonna burn in hell forever and ever and ever. But he loves you and he needs money.
Money and
Yes.
your devotion so you can give him more money until you're no longer of use, and then you can be
Exactly.
booted out and fair gamed
Yeah.
if you speak about the long con that these
Yeah.
cults do.
Yeah. And I would just sit there in the corner and crochet. And that helped me, I think, just gave me just enough hit of like a dopamine or something where like I didn't feel like I was gonna like crawl out of my skin. And you could see people just like zoning out and kind of dissociating or whatever,
That's what they do.
drooling. I mean, falling asleep, everything. It was so fucking boring. And here we are, in early mid 20s, early 30s, it's just what are we doing? Like and Duncan always says this, and it's so true, is that she was two different people. And I have this fucking history of looking up to these older women that are psychos that have two distinct personalities.
Can you describe that a little more and how that played out? And did you ever see her do like a literal switch?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and Duncan said this too. Like she would just be like, okay, so I'm gonna try to do this. I'm probably gonna offend people, but she would be
Okay, go
like,
for it.
she would talk like this because she was from Long Island,
Fucking A.
right?
Fucking
She's
A.
from Long Island. Yeah, she's from Long Island. And she'd just be like, you guys better, get it right or you're going to hell. God is watching you. He hears you. He does it. And she would just have this high pitched and she'd say, you need to die to yourself. You need to die to all that. And she would just basically say like things like these stupid analogies like you die like the people the guys that get shot in the old Western movies, how they stumble around, you
Like
know?
you had to act these out?
Well, she would do it. She would just like mock us and be like, "You won't die to yourself. You won't die. Like, take die to yourself. Take up your cross and follow me." Like that's what Jesus said, right? And he who does not hate this, Jesus said this. He does not,
Right.
and the word is hate in the Greek in the lexicon. You could look it up. His mother, father, brother, sister, yes, and even his own life, and take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Cannot will not enter the kingdom of heaven.
And who
So
would say
she
that,
would just
Marilyn? A narcissist, not God.
exactly.
Who would say that?
Yeah.
But that's a small price to pay. So basically, he's just going to take your free will away and everything, destroy you, and put you in hell for eternity if you don't follow him. But if that's it, that's not asking too much. Wouldn't you agree?
But you chose to go there.
Right. Right. Of course. Why wouldn't anybody make that choice? Isn't that the obvious choice? All this talk is making me want to pick up a Bible, Marilyn. Please continue. So, are you finally? Did you want to take up something?
Don't do it.
Is Michelle being funny
Don't
here?
do it.
Let's do it. Perfect. She's got our
Yes.
back. She's got our back. Thank you guys so much. Your timing is impeccable tonight. Perfect. If you're just joining us, every time that word comes up, we take a hit of our favorite poison as a tribute to the evil cult leader, Marlene, that Marilyn is speaking about, and Xenu, who caused me a lot of heartache over numerous years.
I was just reading Tampa B Man's. I don't know if you can pull it up. She said
Sure.
when she was having premarital sex, her mom said, just picture Jesus at the end of the bed or something.
Now that is offensive, Tampa. We're going to have to put you in timeout. That's definitely going to offend somebody in this audience. Good. Read that
I
out
told
again,
her
will
it
you?
was
That's funny.
okay.
Can you read it out for everybody, Marilyn?
Yeah, Tampa B Man said, yeah, for anyone who's doing the dishes or driving, Tampa B Man said, when I was having premarital sex, my mom said, well, if you can picture Jesus at the end of your bed and are okay, then fine. I told her it was. You are
Wow.
badass, Barb.
That's very
That's
R
your new
rated.
nickname.
That's awesome, Tampa.
Badass Barb.
What
I
else we
love
got
it.
here? Someone's
What you got?
trying to hypnotize us in the audience. Okay, we'll play along,
Close your
Evelyn.
eyes and think of
Close your
England.
eyes and think of England. Is that
Okay.
supposed to be some transcendent new
Oh,
process?
there's a protest happening soon, right? When is that?
Yes. The IAS. Dusty Dan, good evening, Doug. Did you watch Seinfeld and has anyone ever called you Cosmo? No, but I don't know who Cosmo is. I think somebody said I look like somebody in Seinfeld, possibly. I totally forget. There was a few people
I've
that would
never
always come up.
seen an episode of Seinfeld. You know why? I was
Really?
in a cult. Well, because I was firmly
Oh,
in the
right.
cult for 90s, so I missed Seinfeld and Friends.
That's
And
another thing that happens in cults. You
and,
miss
and
cultural
King of
references.
Queens. I never saw that
Really?
either.
Cosmo is Kramer. I'll have to check that out. Speaking of Seinfeld, I think I'm going to do a short video tomorrow on his brush with Scientology and how he actually
Really?
liked it and it helped him in his career, supposedly.
Interesting.
Yeah. Um, yeah, there's, um, okay. I thought there was something else here. Okay. So do you want to, well, I guess we've kind of covered the broad strokes, but there's,
Yeah.
before we get to like the exit stuff and why the hell you're able to
Yeah.
be so freaking bright, to this day, perfect time for a cigarette. Again, timing impeccable. I just
But
wanted
I'm
to
good.
ask you, you said it was kind of a slow process. It wasn't all at once. So you probably had numerous things.
Yeah.
So can you give us some of the highlights of what finally led up to the quote breaking point, if there was one specific moment? And then what was the exit process like? Were you allowed to
Yeah.
go or did was it
Well,
traumatic?
it was dramatic. So before I go into, leaving, I
Hmm.
just wanted to give just a quick
Please.
picture of what the quote going before the board was, because that kind of plays into our thing with leaving, and also the thing with my daughter. So Marlene would discern. God would tell her, tongue in cheek, right, that there was something hidden, something wrong, and I would get called before the board a lot. And as you see, the process of me breaking down, it was years of this. And so, what it usually consisted of is that she would call me into a room. Sometimes it was just me, sometimes it was me and another person. Towards the end, it was me and Duncan. She would call us into a room and have the board of elders basically sit in a circle around you, and you'd be in a chair, like a hot seat, like you're playing Duck Duck Goose, but with somebody in the middle. And I was in the hot seat in the middle. And she would lay hands. She would just basically read a scripture, usually something really like terrible from Jeremiah, or like something from the Old Testament about like you've been found in the about like Nebuchadnezzar or something. Like you've been found in weighed in the balance, and
In
you've
the
been
dung
found
heap?
yeah, you're gonna end up in the dung heap. Oh, that came up a lot. You've been weighed in the balance and you've been found lacking, right? And she would live. Yes, I will do a Marlene after this. I am gonna need a Marlene after this.
Man,
That's new.
I'm impressed, Marilyn. We're fucking still standing and shit, man.
I
And
know, we're
these
doing
these
pretty
people in
good.
the audience have to be plowed because they're really going at it. Thank you. You guys please feel free to indulge. We'll take a bit of a break.
Yeah. So she would lay her hands on me, and she would start her ticking
Oh my
and
god.
and be like, and she would lay her hands on me. And the thing about laying hands on me, it's humbling because you got these fucking people standing. I tell you, she's always standing over me. She's standing over me and laying her, and she would like lean on you.
And literally go,
And
I mean,
yeah, and then
sounds so
she'd
crazy.
start these repetitive, like, thank you, Lord, thank you, Lord. Thank you,
Oh
Lord,
my
thank you, Lord,
god.
thank you, Jesus, praise you, Jesus. And she'd start whispering. And then at one point there would be like a dead silence. And she would open one eye,
Oh my
because I would be
god.
like looking, like sometimes I would like looking at her, because sometimes she'd stand in front of me and do it, and I would look up at her like she couldn't see me. She'd open an eye and she'd say, "So and so," to one of the older ladies. Sometimes there were men in the room, depending on who was on the board, whatever. And she'd say, "I think you have a word for Marlene." And you could see or you could sense like the trepidation, like she was almost like you could see the smoke coming out of her ears, like, shit, now I got to come up with a word. Of course, she didn't say shit, but she had to come up with a word for me. So she'd be like, um, I'm getting a word. I'm getting a word from Marilyn. And she'd be like, I'm hearing in my spirit the word Achan. And Achan was this bad guy in the Bible
Of
that
course.
took the spoils of the took the spoils of the one of the battles of the Israelites, hid them under his tent, the gold and silver. God found out about it, told the elders. It's funny because Kelly Copter has like a whole like total animated video about it that she put up in my interview. Hilarious. But she, would be like, this is what you have in your spirit, hidden rebellion. And it turns out that Achan was stoned to death, and not the fun kind. He was stoned, and brutally murdered with his children and his wives. I guess they had more than one wife back then. All his possessions, his animals, his concubines, which is like his, what are those called? Like wives, but they're not married. His concubines, whatever, and they were all killed and thrown into this valley of Achor, was called. And the valley of Achor was actually what the Door of Hope was named after, because in Hosea 2, it said, God will take the valley of Achor and put it into a door of hope. So it was always this thing of, if you admit to this terrible thing, if you take this awful thing on you, whether it's body thetans or demons or whatever, if you sacrifice yourself, and there's some kind of pie in the sky that's going to make you happy. You know what I mean? So it's going to be this is good for you. This is good for you. So I would just to get the pressure off, I'd be like, okay, God, I admit to a spirit of vacant. I'm laughing about it now. It was fucking scary. It was like, okay, bring me back in the fold. I'll confess. I'll confess. I have a spirit of vacant. I can't, blah, blah, blah. Just please don't, you know, like basically condemn me, because she had the power over me to basically say, you were okay with God, or you're condemned, and you are cast out in outer darkness, and you're going to be on the dung heap, right, which is the shit pile. So I would just
That's pretty
confess whatever.
self-explanatory. Did she
Yeah.
ever give you a biblical explanation of horse shit besides
Well, it was
herself?
the dung heap was like, yeah, it was like, well, shit is fuel, right? So it was like this to be burned up. It was like just cast
Oh my
away.
God.
God just throws you. And there was another thing too about this like all or nothing thing, is
Hmm.
like, there's a scripture in the Bible that says that God would rather have you hot or cold, because if you're lukewarm, he'll spew you out of his mouth. So that's that radical, whether it's Islam or Sea Org or whatever. It's just that's all or nothing. Like I remember Leah Remini saying that, you can't just dip your toes in Scientology. You're in or you're out. You have to,
Yeah, that's
you
another
know,
sign of a destructive cult, again, showing that they all have the same playbook. In Scientology, it was
totally
a policy that we read called KSW, which stands for Keeping
right.
Scientology Working. And like any doomsday destructive cult, it said at the very beginning, this is a deadly serious activity. We're not fucking around. If someone signs up in Scientology on day one, consider that they signed up for eternity. We'd rather have you dead than incapable. That minor little policy is the very first thing that you read in
And
the
and
courses.
that's what a certain lunatic in a black turtleneck was saying with his evil maniacal laugh
Hey,
when
he's
he
just
got
following
his,
policy and trying to take on the
yeah,
beingness of
Tom
Hubbard.
Cruise. Tom Cruise. Yeah.
Yep.
That's insane. Yeah. So that was the reference that I was referring to when I talked about going before the board, and you would just do anything to get out of there. And again, whether it's like the chemicals in your brain or what, is like I felt like God had forgiven me because she had forgiven me. And I'd be like, yes, yes, yes. And I feel such a relief. So I was like, that must be God, his favor. It must be, I'm back in the fold. I'm so happy, until the next time. You never knew when the next time was. And I realize now that I could take a lot of abuse on myself, but you fuck with my kids. That's what started to be the beginning of the end, right? So I started to rebel inside. Like, I wish I had just grabbed my daughter, ran out of there, never looked back. But because at that point I had been in for 14 years, and that was just in that cult, not to let alone all the abuse, all the trauma, all the indoctrination I had as a kid leading up to this, right? So seeing it happen to my kids, or to Haley, and then she started to kind of pick at my boys right before we left. I just started to rebel, and I figured, like, if I was going to get called before the board, if my kids were going to be accused of being rebellious, if I was going to be accused of being rebellious, and Duncan, might as well rebel a little bit, right? So we started like popping a bottle of wine at night, watching some movies. Like we love the fight movies, like the Rocky,
Were
which
you
I
not
should go
allowed to
get
watch
Rocky.
any movies or just specific movies?
Um, she would pick on even wholesome movies like like Sense and Sensibility, like Jane Austen with the costume. They didn't even kiss in those movies. That she called it Sense and Sensuality.
Oh my
Like she was
God.
just, yeah, she just hated everything. She was just such a killjoy. It wasn't like that in the beginning, but just got more and more and more isolated, strict, just suffocating, totally
Was she
suffocating.
getting laid herself?
No,
Well, there you
I know
have it.
she wasn't. I don't think so. Unless, well, she did have two women that were very much close to her. So I don't
Really?
know.
She might have been
She might have been
bisexual?
a lesbian. Yeah.
I mean, that could explain a lot, right? Maybe she's dealing with her own repressed sexuality issues or whatever, and just decided to start a cult to, I mean, we can only guess, right? But you obviously have to be incredibly insecure to be a narcissistic cult leader. And you can literally just see the fucking jealousy, I think, in this one fucking picture. And your soul basically being stole from you by Satan. Thank God
Yeah.
quote unquote, no pun intended, that you got the fuck away from this evil bitch. And I think that's a perfect time, right, Marilyn?
Yeah.
To, as we kind of, because we'll talk more. This is only
Yeah.
part two. We have plenty more to talk. We're finding a landing point. Plus, we have questions that people have for you that I'd like to fire at you. But this is a
Yeah.
perfect time to come on, guys. Where are you when we need you? Give us a fucking Xenu or Marlene. God
Right.
damn it. There we go. Kimberly, on
Right.
point. All right. This will be the final one. I am so high. How are you doing, Marilyn?
I'm doing pretty good. I
Do you
mean,
have a
a
buzz going
pleasant one.
on or talk to me?
I don't know. Yeah, a little bit maybe. So, can I do a show and tell, or do you want me to do it at the end?
Oh, yeah. Please, please. Can you
Okay.
tell people what you're
'Cause
talking about too?
it's been an hour and 45 minutes, so maybe I could just go pee really quick and you can pull up some questions, and I'll be
Absolutely.
right
Sounds
back.
perfect.
I'm gonna show
Okay.
you guys something.
Awesome. I'll just stay here and party with the audience. If you're just joining us every time we say Marlene, which is the cult leader that Marilyn's talking about, and Xenu, which was my, I guess, God in the cult of Scientology, we take a hit of our favorite poison. Stand by. If you guys have any questions to throw out that I could answer that before we get back with the questions that you have about Marilyn, please feel free to throw them out. Oh, I know what I can do in the meantime, so I don't have to sit here and dance around like a fumbling monkey. I can put on some music, so stand by. What would you guys like to hear? Chill, down tempo, lounge, hip hop, lofi, chill hop, ambient, or future pop? Let's start with hip hop. Everybody just relax and indulge. I never felt like religion made sense to me. That's why Scientology, because it required a faith, right? And they did seem ridiculous to me, even though from the ages of 0 to 9, me and my family were church on Sunday Christians. Obviously, I'm not going to understand much at 9 years old, anyways, but the Bible shit kind of went over my head. And even as I got older, I always rejected religion, but Scientology was sold as a science. It seemed to be scientific. It was unique, at least to me at the time. So I thought that we had the real knowledge. There's no way in hell it was a cult. And it certainly wasn't sold as a religion. That's only something that we told outsiders, but we knew it was a science and we just had to kind of say it was a religion. Well, one, because we dealt with the spirit, and two, it was a tax write-off. But no, it was the whole selling of science, that there was a scientific way to free yourself spiritually, that hooked me, and I always rejected religion. And here comes fucking Rocky. Yes, I'm so glad you remembered.
Yeah.
Marilyn, can you please explain who this cute, adorable guy is? Can you introduce him? How long has he been on this insane planet? What's his name? And
Right. This is Rocky. He's 3 months old. He was born on the 4th of July.
nice, nice.
Independence Day, right?
Wow,
You can see him.
he's
Here he
so
is.
cute. Can I put him on full screen and jump off just so you
Yeah.
can show people he's a cutie pie?
This is Rocky. Say hi. Say hi. So he's dark gray. He's a wolf sable. And he's got little tan paws. He's got his boxing gloves on. Say hi. And he has a big brother, Apollo, but I don't dare bring him in here because he's crazy. He'll just be breaking up the place because he's hyper. So, rockers.
He is so fucking cute. Thank you
Cute.
for remembering too, because we promised we were going to bring him in last time.
I know.
What a
sweetheart.
super cutie.
So we named our doggies Rocky and Apollo after Apollo Creed and Rocky Balboa because I swear those movies like kind of gave us some fight to get the hell out of there,
I was going to say that's a perfect segue into what was getting you out, because you
Yeah.
not only named your dog that, but you told me that Rocky was actually like an inspiration because you're looking at shit that's getting that rebellious spirit that you had. You're getting sick of
Yeah.
fucking Marlene shit year after year. You finally start rebelling. By the way, I can relate to that so much, Marilyn, because I had a friend of mine. I was always trying to be pure, but I had a friend of mine that would rebel just a little bit more than me. So he would encourage me to do that too. And when I really started to follow the rebellion thing, that was sort of leading out. So when you hit that stage,
Yeah.
a movie like Rocky that everybody takes for granted, did that actually like inspire you to like literally like break out of the cult and take
Yeah,
your
it was
power
like-
back and shit?
yeah, it was kind of like just gave me like just a will to fight. I don't know. It was just the fact that like we had just been so suppressed for so long, and anything that we did, we never we never had any like, what would you say, like um satisfaction, like, when you work hard for something and then you're happy, like, you got have like a hard work ethic and you feel like you can have like the fruits of your labor. And when Marlene, so that big building, people had like kind of gotten married off and nobody was really living in it anymore, and it was being sold because we rented it. And Duncan and I were, really struggling. We had 3 kids and I wasn't working because I was being basically forced to homeschool my kids, which I didn't feel like at all qualified to homeschool them. So we were kind of living paycheck to paycheck. He was working outside the house. And um, at one point, Duncan's aunt passed away and left him, some money. And there was also an older man in the church that had like a pension, and they pulled their money together and put down a down payment for the building that she's in now. Much smaller farmhouse, but with a big open living room kind of area where she could have her church services. And she was having them fix it up. Duncan was always doing maintenance, but now, he's got 3 kids. He's got a job an hour away, gone all the time, and he was spending like all of his free time up there doing her bidding. Well, she wanted him to paint these rooms, and she got the paint, told him what color. He painted the rooms. She didn't like the color, so she picked out another color, painted all the fucking I guess she doesn't believe in swatches, I don't know, but painted all the rooms again, hours and hours, took him away from me and the kids. And I was and she mid like meanwhile, she's telling us we can't have any preferences, no will of your own. I didn't even know what my fucking favorite color was. And she's just being like just such a princess, and like wearing nice clothes and all that. So a third time he paints the room. That was it. Isn't it funny that just something like that, I was just like, you know what? This is it. So she realized, I think, that she sensed that I wasn't drinking her Kool-Aid at all anymore. And she called the house and said that she wanted to come down and lay hands on me, come in my
Of
home.
course.
And Duncan was on the phone and he just kind of came in, and I was literally, I was actually right there in that corner near that window. It wasn't a window there. And I was folding laundry. And he comes in and he's like, Marlene just called. She wants to come down and lay. He couldn't even get it out. I threw the laundry basket down and I had a full on panic attack. I was screaming, yelling, flailing my arms like I was swatting bees or something.
Wow, you were going
And
kind of nuts.
I was just like, don't let her hear. Don't let her. And he's usually a mellow guy, doesn't like confrontation, doesn't like conflict. He was like just kind of backing up, like, don't worry, I won't let her in. I won't let her in. So he told her no for the first time in
Wow.
16 years. First
Wow,
time,
man.
16 years.
Wow.
So guess what? We were called before the board, and we were found weighed in the balance and lacking.
Of course.
Doug. And she put curses on us. We're going to end up on the dung heap. If we didn't repent, our children were going to be drug addicts, prostitutes, on the dung heap too. We're all in the dung heap. And I looked around the room and I saw all the people that I loved and that had been my friends and like my family, because I didn't have anybody, all looking at the floor, not standing up for us. And usually we would have just kind of backed down like I did, like I told you. Oh, okay, we'll repent. We're sorry. Bring us back in the fold. And we were just like, we're done.
Wow.
We're like, no, this isn't God's love. This isn't right. You guys are crazy. You guys
Did you say that in front of everybody, Marilyn, that night?
Yeah.
What you said?
Yeah.
You said, did you even tell them they were crazy?
Well, I don't know if I said crazy. I was just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
What was the reaction after that?
They were just like
in shock.
Yeah, they were like, just wouldn't even look at us. So
wow, that took so much courage to finally fucking say
they
that.
Wouldn't even, yeah, and we left, and then.
Were you allowed to leave? Okay, or did anybody try to stop
Yeah,
you? Did Marlene say anything?
Everybody was sort of in this weird state. Like Duncan actually stayed and did something in their basement boiler room. Like, she had the fucking nerve to ask him to fix something. So her daughter ended up bringing me home that night. And it was so weird. It was like, you just told us that we were condemned to hell, and you have the nerve to ask Duncan to fix something one last time. So he
Wow,
did. Of course he
man.
did. He did. Just like me with the luggage, right? Okay. And he went home, and we, like, the next day, I remember it was right before Mother's Day on in 2007, and we never showed up to church, and that was like a big flap, right? We didn't show up to
Yeah.
church because then they realized we meant business because we didn't go to church. Oh my god, that was like the biggest thing. So we didn't show up, and she sent a mass email to everybody saying that there
Of
were
course.
sinners, sin in the camp. There were enemies in the camp, and the enemies were us. We were the enemies, and you know, God have mercy on our souls because we were going to be swallowed up by the devil.
And you feel like you are too, Marilyn, until you get the phobia indoctrination and you test it out in the real world. So half of you, of course, is thinking that that's true, right?
Totally. And we live on basically on the same road, and like her sons would drive by, people would drive by. I'd be scared to death. Some
Yeah.
of them did come knock on our door and try to handle us
Hmm.
and or call. And I was just like, I stood my ground because I just
Good for you.
honestly, it got to the point where I would rather die. I couldn't do it anymore.
So many
You know
people
that
say that's
feeling?
what it takes to. I know,
Yeah.
of course, I know that feeling. Yeah, that's usually the
Yeah.
place that it takes, especially Maryland, when you're in as long as you and I have. You were in for
Yeah.
16 years.
Yeah, because some of the people she sent to handle us were like peripheral, and they were more Sunday Christian. They go on Sunday. They never saw Marlene act like that. They never saw this. They didn't know about the board and the starvation and the demons, and they just went a few times.
They sent the newbies out to you rather than the hardened people that knew how to get you back,
Kind
maybe?
of. I mean, they did have my friends call me, the ones that one that I recruited, and her niece called me. But other than that, it was more of these ladies that were just so just worshiping her. And yeah,
I'm sure she strategically did that to think about how you best might respond. The hardcore way probably wouldn't have worked on you, but it was
right.
still hard to resist too, right, Marilyn? Because there's until you got enough distance from it and
Yeah,
deprogramming,
yeah.
and you could go through the doctrine and find out what was true and what wasn't. Did you
Yeah, I
feel
mean,
kind
we
of
were having
compelled
crazy
to go
dreams.
back?
We were
Yeah,
like we were all my kids were, yeah, it was just insane. And we still believed in some of the doctrine. We still believed in the
yeah. How
spirits
could you
and
not?
stuff. So we didn't know what to do. We didn't I just remember, like, kind of just trembling and hiding, and just if I had to go somewhere, I'd just run to my car and jump in and leave because I didn't want them going by, and because I've seen them put curses on people. I had heard them praying for people to break them. That was another thing that was supposedly good. Like, if you were broken, you need to be broken before God. You think of a broken person, you feel bad for them. They need help, right? Like a broken person? No, broken is good because broken is what God wants for you and your children, to break you like a mule, right? And that's good. Being broken before God, being an empty vessel, being a servant, a slave, all good.
Can I just say something on that real quick, Marilyn? Because it's a recurring theme that you've been bringing up all night, and I wanted to say this. What you're describing too is the technical, psychological, known by cult leaders way to break someone down, and it involves breaking them down, and then they call it like freezing them, and then you're open to receive the programming of the new identity, the fake self, the cult self, the literal identity of the cult leader and thought, mind, spirit, and everything eventually. So there's a process. This happens in the military too, but
I was
you
just gonna say,
know what
yeah.
you're signing up for. But it's
Yep.
totally known psychologically that the way someone can go from a normal person to losing their family and following a nutter with rotting teeth like Hubbard or your cult leader, where obviously you're much better than her. Why do you need her, but she needs you? Is because of the very slow, methodical, well known psychological process of breaking him down, freezing him, and then reframing everything so you can take on the identity cult leader.
Absolutely. You said it all. Yep.
Yeah, I was
Absolutely.
just riffing out what you've been pointing out all night because
And
that's a recurring theme
I
and
think
in
one
her
of the most
doctrine too.
surprising Right. And I think one of the most surprising things, and one of the best things that I discovered as I started to peek my head out and enter the world is that the people in the worldly people on the dung heap were actually lovely people
I
mostly.
know. I still get tripped out by that 18 years later after leaving out of the cult because all I knew was someone who had an agenda and people it was a Orwellian nightmare. So even when I got out, there were so many examples, even today, where normal people that aren't in a cult are actually genuinely nice. And you don't have to exchange with them. Like I had so much help, Marilyn, by strangers that it taught me, it got me over that phobia indoctrination because as you know, one of the things that keeps you in the cult, right, Marilyn, is
Yeah.
thinking
Hold
and
on.
being programmed that the
Hold on a
outside
minute.
world, huh?
Hold on a minute.
Okay. Getting a, hopefully Marlene's not calling you.
No, some other fucking troll.
Uh-oh. Maybe I should change the music to something more intense.
No, someone, I won't say who they are. I'm on a fucking stream with you right now telling me not to be on a stream with you. You know what? The last thing people want, I'm going to go on my soapbox, and it's not, I drink a half a
Sure.
glass of wine.
Sure.
No one's going to tell me who I can talk to. Okay. The last thing a cult survivor or a survivor of coercive control want to be told is what to do. Okay. I'm most likely to do the opposite. And I don't even know this fucking person that's messaging me. So, as Reese would say, fuck off into the forever. You're not going to text me and tell me in the middle of a stream with somebody, you know, just
Do you
saying.
want to share any more with that?
I'm not going to say the name, but they can fuck off into the forever, and they're blocked off my channel next chance I get.
Is it somebody I would guess by any chance?
Possibly.
Okay. I think I might know who you are, and I actually muted him in the stream. There's only like one maniac.
That's just so disrespectful. Okay, this
Oh,
is
who
another thing
cares?
too.
Like you said,
I'm
you're
just
not in a
gonna call
cult.
it out. I'm not gonna say the person's name, but I'm just gonna call it out. Is don't tell me you're looking out for me. I don't know you, so I'm not gonna trust you.
Wow.
So the thing is, if I trust you and I know you're really looking out for me, if you're somebody that I really like, that I have a history with, please come to me and say, "Hey, Marilyn, I'm worried about you," or whatever. But that's just not okay with
Oh,
me.
Marilyn, this person sounds like a nutter. There's not, if anybody follows my channel, they know that there's no agenda. I don't even fucking like have the thing monetized. It's like totally a passion story. And I was also totally thrashed by Scientology. So if someone's telling you, especially that you don't know, not to talk to me or whatever, just tell them, they can go fuck themselves or you can make up your own mind. But we're not hiding anything over here, ma'am.
Well, I don't have the time
You don't
right
have to.
now.
I
If
get
they're
trolls all the
watching,
time too,
dude,
Marilyn, and people telling
yeah,
me
if
that I
they're
couldn't
watching,
talk
please.
to Zero Dark Tony. Who's hated by everybody, which may relate to, who this person texting you. I'll interview anybody, and I get trolled all the time, but you just have to not take it personally, man. Like you said, you make up your own mind. Don't let them get to you so much, man. Remember how you said earlier, where the way you handled Marlene, and you got one over on her, so to speak, was rather than getting emotionally worked up, you just took the higher road. That powerful
I'm
fucking
sorry,
statement that you just
I
made.
just got
It
emotionally
doesn't
worked up right
matter.
on a
It's
live
okay.
stream.
It's totally
I just
okay.
got
It
emotionally
just
worked.
really doesn't
I
matter.
do have, but I guess I do. I don't know. I felt like it needed to be said. Maybe it didn't need to be said, but
No, you just
I
fucking
just told
spoke
them
it in
I'm on a
mind.
live stream right now. That's very rude. So,
All right, well, tell him to get him back to him after we're done. And that's actually a perfect
and
segue
I just turned my phone off again.
because I have some questions I want to fire at you. And we
Okay.
will do a part 3, my friends, and we're also going to do a stream where Marilyn had a brilliant idea to break down, and we covered some of it tonight, the words of her cult and Scientology. I think you'll find it fascinating because we've talked on the phone, and just to show you how they all kind of work together, it will be a fascinating study. So let's blaze through these questions
All
real
right.
quick, Marilyn.
Yeah,
Thank you. We
let's do
got
it.
fucking through it. We definitely got. I can't speak for you, but I'm pretty plowed. So we got through the trauma, and we had a good little party game going on where the audience purposely was trying to get us to
We can do some
hit the
more
drink. No
Marlene's.
fucking A, man. We're just pulling out. No pun intended. See, that's the sexual innuendos
Yeah,
programmed
and
into me by the sex freaks of Hubbard.
I have this apology thing like going on where like when I cry, when I emote, I always apologize to my stream, but they keep coming back, so I guess they just know,
I think that's part of being an empathic person too. Maybe I always apologize and feel like I Well, I'm surprised I
And
didn't take to the Christian faith because I always felt like I had done something wrong according to my parents.
you can probably skip it. I mean, I
Question.
can tell you some stuff, and you can decide for yourself.
Fair enough. Auntie, I can't read that. And fuck, man, hang on, let me pull this up. Auntie, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Doug, do you ever feel afraid of dying from all the smoking and shit? No, not at all. And if it gets me out of this madhouse 10 years earlier, that's what I'm aiming for. Martha, question. Marilyn, did Marlene have followers sign over their property? Great question. Their properties
Yes.
and estates,
Yep.
or her heir? Can you read that, Marilyn? Because I'm not quite.
Estates or heir as sole benefactor in their wills. What did the financial abuse look like?
Good
Yeah.
question.
I'll tell you a little secret. Not a secret now. Um, you know, Duncan and I sometimes procrastinate with some things, and finally, a few weeks ago, we went down to the town hall, and finally, took Dwarf Hope off of our will because they were slated to get 10% of our of whatever was left over from when we die, right? And our kids deserve all of that. And they went through a lot of hell. They're our heirs. We just kept procrastinating it on doing it, and didn't take that long. But they're not getting jack shit. So I'm glad that we finally did that. But yes, yes, you were guilted into it. Like I said, Duncan did help buy that property, and not we're not the only ones. He's not the only one. So yes, and a lot of the people that benefited from it was her family members. All the people from Long Island who just felt they were they kind of treated us like stupid country bumpkins, and they were like from the city, and they were smarter, and they were better, and they were just entitled. They were just entitled. So yes, yep.
Excellent. And Ash firing in with, and this is a great question. What's, if you
Oh, her
want to
name.
say, her
Yes,
last
her
name?
name's Marlene Sweeney. Yeah, her name's Marlene Sweeney.
Really? There was a
Um,
serial killer named John Sweeney and a
Sweeney, not Sweeney
Scientologist
with an
fighter
S,
named.
but if you take away the S, it's Weenie. Somebody
That's
in
great.
my chat the other day was calling her moron Weenie. I'm like, that works for me. It works for me.
Again,
Yeah.
another encoded sexual innuendo, even within the fucking leader's name. PT
Yeah.
Bird, how are you? Marilyn, was reading the Bible a part of your studies?
Oh my God, yes. I memorized the Bible. I remember even in my less than culty church when I was a kid. We used to do this like Bible. We would travel, and we would memorize whole books of the Bible, and it was like a Bible quiz thing where we had like the buzzer, and you had to they would say what is 1 Corinthians 13:1, and I would be like, if I speak in the tongues of men and of angels but not have love, I am a clanging gong or resounding cymbal. If I talk, blah
Wow.
blah blah blah
Marilyn,
blah.
does that
Yeah.
shit come back to you just like Scientology lingo
Yes, it
does to me?
does.
But are you thinking outside of it now too? Do you have it enough removed
I
from your
am, but it
brain?
still comes back.
Yeah, no,
It's
that's
like,
fine. I hear you.
okay, so I'll give you a little demonstration.
Sure,
I'm not
fucking
proud of
A.
this. I'm not proud of this, but
Oh
so
Lord.
the books of the New Testament: Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, First and Second Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Colossians, Thessalonians,
Wow. Can you keep riffing
Hebrews,
on that? That
Philemon,
actually sounded
Timothy, Titus. Oh wait, I know it, but I am a little tiny bit buzzed.
give it a shot. It's
Luke,
okay if you
Titus, Romans,
stumble a little bit.
Hebrews, James, Peter, John, Jude, and Revelation. So
Can
yeah,
you do
I
that while
mean,
talking in tongues? And then throw that in. I'm just kidding. That's fucking
if
excellent.
you care to know any of this shit, Doug, I
I
could tell you.
find it very I don't really, but I just find it interesting because when you listen to our Scientology lingo, it must just sound like the gibberish that I don't understand that you just spewed
Yeah.
forth, but it's
Yeah,
fucking interesting.
but what's crazy is that, like, the Bible, the tongues was actual languages supposedly because, you
That's what
know,
they say,
when
right?
they
But
were in
is
the
it
upper room, yeah, when they were in the upper room and the Holy Spirit came, he baptized them with tongues, the tongues of fire. They spilled out on the streets, and they were actually speaking in the native languages of the people in Jerusalem.
so
So
did
they
you
were
have
all from
people that could speak literally different languages and you knew that they were somehow doing
no.
that?
It
Okay.
was no, in the charismatic movement, it was just like it's not
It's
languages, it's
just
just gibberish.
gibberish.
But, um, the
But
Apostle
how do
Paul
you
in the
know
Bible.
it's not God speaking through gibberish?
But the Apostle
Come
Paul in
this
the
way.
Bible said that there shouldn't be tongues spoken in the congregation without an interpretation. So sometimes when I was a
Somebody has
kid,
to interpret the
you'd
gobbledygook.
have somebody going, and the whole church would
Stand
be
by.
quiet.
I can translate that. Is that what you
And then
mean?
they'd be like, "My child." Oh, I'm getting the creeps. I'm getting the chills.
Holy
Be
shit,
like,
me
"My
too.
child, God has spoken to you." And there would be like an interpretation. It was insane. It was just a bunch of bullshit, honestly. It's just insane.
Wow. And again, guys, this is happening to kids by parents that are
Yeah,
just
see,
trying to
that's the
be nice
thing.
and pass on religion.
And it was scary. It was like the movies that we had to watch with the people getting their heads chopped off and everything. It was and I said this in the last stream too. It's like you take a fire victim that basically watched their family burn to death and tell them if they don't do XYZ perfectly, which you didn't even really know. Even as an adult, I'd be freaking out, right?
Yeah, let alone living
You're gonna
that
burn.
trauma.
You're gonna burn forever and ever and ever and ever. And here I look at my hands and I've got third-degree burn scars. Like
Wow,
it
man.
sucked. It really sucked.
Marilyn, you've literally been through hell and back.
Oh,
So, I mean, you,
Max is getting into stuff.
oh,
We're
bad
rock.
boy. I'll fire another question at you.
Okay.
Doug and Marilyn,
Word
I
salad,
think
yeah.
we kind of answered this, right? Do you have religion in your, that's a great question. Do you have religion in your lives at the moment, or did you feel like it's one of those things that makes no sense?
Sorry.
You go first. Where do
Okay.
you stand with your beliefs? And
Ooh,
how did you come to those conclusions?
that's a tough question.
Or are
I
you
guess
still in the process of figuring it out?
um I don't know. I don't know how you even know. It's like I guess right now all I know is that I don't know, but I do have some type of feeling like there's something out there because you look around, you think of all, your body, your brain, all the functions in your body. Look at little Rocky. He came from heaven, somewhere, something, right? But I don't know, and um, I'm not going to pretend I know because then I feel like there's pressure to say that you know something that you don't. So all I know is that what I have, I want to enjoy and I want to enjoy this life. So I'm open to knowing, but I don't know. Is that an
Mer
answer? Is that
Yeah, in
a
fact,
non-answer?
no, that's good. Today's your lucky day because I happen to know, and for $50, I can get you signed up to Dazed But Not
Absolutely.
Confused, the bridge to total amnesia. No, that's a great answer. I'd say the same thing. Again, as Socrates is supposed to have said, or according to Bill from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Socrates, wisdom is knowing how little you know, and nothing like a cult experience. If ours is anything to go by, Marilyn, it's a new starting point where you know that you know nothing. Because
Yeah.
if this can happen to you, what else is possible? And from there, you can get somewhere and have your
Yeah.
mind explode open. So
Yeah.
it becomes kind of a integrated gift after a while, no?
Yeah, I mean,
In a
I
certain
think
way.
I put aside, as people say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, blah blah. But I did kind of put everything aside, and I'm just taking back a little bits and pieces, like even from the scriptures, like God is love, and things like that. And Duncan's been listening to these podcasts and watching these documentaries about like fairly credible people that say that they've had near death experiences.
Yeah.
I'm not really there yet where I can really delve into that, or I don't know if I will be, but he is. He's very interested in that
How far are you
because
away from believing in aliens?
I don't know. That was such a no-no, like even the Wiccan stuff, the witchcraft, like all that stuff, but they had their own brand of it. Like Marlene believed in mysticism, although she wouldn't call it mysticism, you know? So it's hard to get that indoctrination out to be open to anything else, but I don't want to join another cult,
Yeah, me neither.
And that's why honestly, like, okay, I'm gonna say it, Doug. Hope you don't mind. But that's why, like, I love this community. I really do. And I'm not going anywhere as far as I can say. But if it does feel culty for me, I'm just saying,
You know how I
Um,
handle that though? Just do your own thing and
yeah,
continue to do
that's
your
what
own
I'm
thing.
doing, my own thing.
There's
I'm
no
doing my own
membership to
thing.
join in SP or SP never, and you just do your own thing, and everybody doesn't become a saint just because they get out of a cult. We don't all have to get along, and
Yeah.
you can just go and you can just do your own thing
Yeah,
like
and I
everybody
do like
else.
everybody. I love the OGs, I love the second gens, I love them all, and I have a good relationship pretty much with all of them, but if anyone, I'm not saying they, but anyone doesn't like who I talk to, doesn't like what I'm
Yeah,
about,
that
that's
part gets
okay.
so ridiculous to
It's
watch.
okay.
Yeah, so funny to watch that, by the way.
What?
That's why Oh, we don't need to get into it. I've covered
Oh,
it on the
okay.
channel before, but I told you, Marilyn, I'm not part of the Sea Org or anything. I grew up as a public and I was never welcomed into the int base, famous people or whatever. So I've always been on the outskirts, but I absolutely would not have it any other way for the very reason you're talking about. Because you can do whatever you want and you can say what you want. You don't have to follow any kind of pattern or whatever.
Yeah, and I'll say that I don't feel like I owe anybody anything, but I'm very grateful for, the friends, the relationships I've made, and
Me too.
also just for Aaron for basically opening up,
Yeah.
this to encourage
Yeah.
people, even me, like a never end
Yeah.
to make a channel. I got the AA run mic, it's great, but,
Fucking hell, you got to
yeah,
get one of those.
yeah, it's great. You don't have
They're
to
all the
you
rage.
just plug it in. Yeah,
It's
you just gotta
nice.
plug it in. But, everybody's human, and nobody's perfect, and I'm not gonna sign off on everything. It's like, it's okay to disagree. We're not in a cult. We can ask questions. We can do our own thing. I don't always talk about Scientology, not everybody does. I'm doing,
Thank
some
God.
streams about MLMs and AA and fundamentalist cults, and, you're interviewing me. I'm not an ex-Scientologist, you know?
Thank God. It's not something to be proud of, despite what some people are. They hold up their status like I was a this. It's like, guys, it's like that's something not to be proud of, like something we
Yeah,
need to
I
get rid
didn't
of.
have a title. I was a helpmeet and a servant, and, yeah, I crocheted blankets and dishcloths and sweaters and, wiped stuff with ammonia and washed toilets with my bare hands.
Again, you would have been great in the Sea Org. Two more questions before we roll out, Marilyn, and then I'm gonna show people your YouTube channel where they can
Okay,
subscribe to because she puts up content regularly, and then we'll roll out of here with
okay.
I think what will be an appropriate outro to summarize exactly what we talked about tonight. The central theme being it's not just Scientology what Marilyn's talking about. An abusive relationship and many facets of society all come from the same playbook. And as we've shown tonight, basically even have the same fucking script. The inappropriate healer asks, how did the mainstream Pentecostal people around you view Moon Sweeney or Moron Sweeney? Moon Sweeney.
That's a great question. Our pastor, actually, I talked to his daughter not too long ago, after I kind of came out and said some stuff. She messaged me and she said she remembers her dad, being very like sad and but also very respectful. He didn't throw her under the bus. She threw him under the bus any chance she got, but he didn't do that to her. And he was sad, and he had told his daughter that he wished he had been a little more forthcoming with trying to protect people from going off into this sect, into this crazy, because she started doing these separate Bible studies, and someday I can go into different you know profiles of how of the people that she chose. Very interesting.
Hmm.
Divorcee women that had husbands that really didn't care about religion or
Like
whatever.
from most
uh,
vulnerable to least vulnerable, like she had her own little personality test, so to speak.
Yeah, she had certain people she would target, and she
Mhm.
traveled from 3 different Assemblies of God churches and actually, plucked out people from each church
Wow.
and started her own thing. So,
It's very
yeah, they thought
efficient.
she was just a troublemaker. They thought she was just like, yeah, I think they're probably relieved that she was gone, but also sad that she had, taken people that were pretty just decent people, you know?
Thank you. Before we get to the final and most important question, I want to show Marilyn's YouTube channel, and it'll be linked in the description box shortly after the video publishes. Marilyn, do you want to talk about what you talk about on the channel and what kind of
Sure.
inspired you to actually do this?
Yeah. So I had told my story to Helicopter
Hmm.
in April. And I have a Facebook group called Coffee, Cults, and Crafts. And there's a lot of creators on there. You don't have to do crafts to be on it. And I was just really getting to know people. And I was doing some streams with Clearwater Chad and Denver Stevo and Juliana Bittencourt, and they were really encouraging me to start a channel. And the technical stuff kind of scares me. But even
So
watching Aaron, kind of walking you through the thing, like telling you what kind of mic to get and all that, I was like, you know what? I'll try it. So I've done like 100 live streams, I think.
Jesus, I know. What the fuck? When does this end? You're making me look bad, Marilyn. You just started your channel not that long ago. You guys are
I had my
incredible, man.
daughter on there. Yeah.
Damn.
There's Jackson, there's
I didn't know you did this much.
Culti
Liz
Vibe.
up here.
Yeah. Liz,
Another Liz. Liz Ferris. Liz.
Chatathons. We did Chatathons, Save Bob
Wow.
Ferris. Yeah. I did.
Motherfucking
Oh,
Mark
that was a
Turi,
great one.
too.
Holy Hell. That was about Buddhafield with Kelly Copter. That's my husband in the middle there.
Wow, this is like a show and tell here. Like I didn't
You
have
see
any
me and my
idea
husband? That's
where.
Duncan.
Yeah, right
You see
here.
us? Yeah, there he is.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Everybody likes him better because he's super smart.
Guys, definitely subscribe to her channel. I have been, but I had no idea. I've just been watching the latest stuff. I had no idea you had that much freaking content.
Yeah,
Before we
we've done.
roll,
I have a
before
series of videos called the Cult Leaders Toolbox,
oh
where I
right,
take a certain
I
cult
did see
leader and
those. I
I
remember
don't give
those.
away who he is until about in the middle of the street. It's only about 10-minute videos. So if you like little short videos, I'm going to do some more once I get better internet. Hard to upload things with shitty internet.
All in due time. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
a massive, massive learning
Yeah,
curve.
I'm
But
doing a stream on Tuesday with Ash from That So Fucked Up
oh,
podcast.
nice. Fuck yeah.
Tuesday at
No
1
pun
o'clock
intended. That's
Eastern.
awesome, Ash.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about her experience in AA, which is very brave of her.
I will
And
definitely be tuning in for that.
check it out. Yeah,
Ash, if you get a link too and you want to send it over, I really am interested in AA. There's a guy I've been trying to get on to break that down. I can't wait to hear your story and let me know so people can watch that might be equally interested. Marilyn, thank you so much for coming on. Friends, there is a part 3 because we have more to cover, and then we're going to do probably soon, what we talked about breaking down, just to give people an overall idea of just how interconnected this shit all is. But I really appreciate you coming on. We have one more final question, the most important one before we roll out of here with the appropriate intro. And that is, for God's sakes, what is Rocky's breed?
he is a Pomeranian. He's a little. If you saw Apollo, he's huge. He's like twice the size of his parents. He's
We have to see him next
outdoorsy.
time.
But yeah, we'll try to wrangle him and see him. But Rocky is a wolf sable color, and he's gray and he has like light gray stripes, and then he has tan paws. And I said those are his boxing gloves.
So cute, which reminds you of Rocky, which is the very inspiration that got you out of this freaking thing.
Right. Yes. So
And there he is. I'm
good
gonna
night,
full
everybody.
screen him real quick so you can show him to the audience.
So he's gonna say good night to everybody. He's such a good boy. Good night, everybody. You being shy? Good night. I love you.
What a freaking super cutie.
You need one. I'm gonna ship you one.
I know it's a long story, which we can't get into right now. God, I know. Believe me. I had dogs growing up most of my life. I'm just not I'm in an
Yeah.
apartment complex, man. I don't want to choke them out with the smoke and shit. And there's other reasons. But guys, we'll be back soon, not only to talk with Marilyn, but we'll see you tomorrow. We're gonna leave you with this outro that sort of summarizes you too could be in a cult. And we all maybe have our little boxes to try to shatter.
We have the idea of a bridge across the chasm. Now, that is an old mystic idea that there was a chasm. There was a chasm between this existence, where we are now, and a higher plateau of existence. And that many people, trying to make it, fell into the abyss.
Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tacky, little boxes on the hillside, little boxes all the same. And the people in the houses all went to the university where they were and the children go to summer camp.